That's what that needs, you know. It needs like this intro as great as it needs some snapping. I think we gotta, you know what I mean.
You know, all I did was just tear that up off. Like I just grabbed my amp and I just ripped into my mic. That's all I did there. So I
love it, but I'm starting to think. No, I love it. I think I'm starting to think it needs a snap. Like it needs me snapping along with it. You don't need to record it. I just want to. Like, would that be nice?
Everything in life needs you snapping along with it.
I think it does. Yeah. Anyway, welcome to the show. My name is
Hold on. Why is there a Nick Suzuki thing stuck on my screen?
Oh, I don't know.
Just me.
I think it might just be you. Is it you guys? You got it on your screen too? You got a Nick Suzuki thing on your screen? No, just you. Me. We're going to talk about Nick Suzuki today. Might as well start there.
It's gone now.
Okay. That is Lachlan Cross, 95.7 Cruise FM at Edmonton is where you can find him at Lachlan Cross. Also, please welcome back to the program at Scott Trades, of course, from the Hot Wallet podcast. Scotty's back. And Canada's best podcast builder, brander, please welcome, first in the game, a guy that risked it all to get out of radio, to get into the digital landscape, and now he's Canada's greatest podcast builder, and we get to work with him. Please welcome Mr. Matt Cundill, ladies and gentlemen. Cundill, nice to see you. How are you? Good to see you.
Or were you asked to leave and then got creative and got into podcasting?
That is accurate.
Yeah. Okay, I was going to say it sounded like you took this miraculous leap of faith into the podcast world. This is what Dean made it sound like. But no, you're probably like 99% of everybody else doing this bullshit and just got fucking fired and then decided to just jump in.
I don't even know that, and I don't even know the answer to that story, Matt. What happened?
I thought to myself, those MNFers, how can I rip audio listening from them 1/4 hour at a time? And I'm doing it one podcast at a time.
That's what I thought.
Okay, so yeah, and that's where we're going to start. So Matt is the owner of a company called Sound Off Media. Now, Sound Off Media, like 6 or 7 years ago, you invented out of nowhere because you were in radio. We'll get to that transition. Like all of us had to invent something to go and do because we were like, we have no transferable skills. What the fuck are we going to do now?
Denny's wasn't hiring.
Denny's wasn't hiring. Scott Trades had cornered the market on trading, so we couldn't do that. But you were like, you got into the podcast building world, and now you are known as, obviously, and we've got some news, and we work with you, and we're super grateful for it because you fucking make our lives so much better and easier, obviously more successful, and you've added a ton of podcasts to the network. You've got your own network of podcasts, but what is it that what was the impetus for it? Like when you get out of radio, you get fired? Did you quit? Did you say, fuck this, I can't do this business anymore? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think radio took sort of one direction, and then podcasting came along. And first of all, podcasting's always been here since 2004. It was weird in 2008. I got on iTunes, and then around 2015, it sort of had this insurgence of listeners with a show called Serial down in the States, and everybody was very interested in it. That was sort of was born out of public radio. But I thought, oh well, wait a second here. This is audio, and it involves microphones and a lot of other, things like storytelling and stuff like that. So, well, I can do this. And so I went to the podcast movement in Chicago at the time, which is a convention. And I thought, this is everybody that I basically wouldn't hire, who all have microphones, who are now able to, put out an audio product in some capacity. And it was really limitless. So I thought, this is a great place to be. Mm-hmm. So that's when the company started in 2015, and we've been building podcasts. First I started my own, and then just added another, and now we're up to like over 50 podcasts, where our goal is just to build audiences and make great audio for people to listen to.
It's so weird, when you think about it in terms of that, because it's not radio. Coming from radio, everybody was like, no, you just have to beat the shit out of every single other radio signal in the market. And now it's like, no. Now you have to reach out and be friends with everybody that's doing this job. It's a fucking mind fuck, right? Coming from radio into this.
And what I really liked about it was, especially when you go to a convention, everybody was really nice. Yeah. And I've been to radio conventions before, and everybody's a bit of a jerk.
A dick.
But they hang together and sort of smug, and radio is not about sharing any ideas or moving the medium forward. It's really about keeping secrets and not and not sort of adhering to any best practices among the medium. And that's why you pretty much have radio today is the exact same thing it really was 20, 30 years ago, which is 10 in a row. Maybe it's 12 in a row.
Hey, 10 in a row, 12 in a row.
Oh,
Top
did we-
six
did we-
at 6.
Did we lose? Did we lose?
Yeah,
Matt?
I think he froze. He froze,
You know what?
but he'll
And
come
the other
back
thing,
in.
the other thing too is you will have a 6-day conversation about whether or not we can call it commercial free.
Do promos count as commercials? No,
Yeah.
they don't. But this promo is brought to you by blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Why are you getting so jacked up?
Oh, here we go.
Is he back
No,
in?
I'm not gonna. I'm gonna be positive today because I need a little positivity in my life because I just got back from the dentist. I am not an animal.
Yeah, you look like an idiot right now.
I'm drooling.
in the nicest possible way. Like, because you not only have you changed some things. Matt is going to come back. Don't worry. We'll be back with Matt in just a second. I just texted him. And the issue that I have here is that not only is most of your beard gone, but you seem to be drooling and you seem to be suffering some kind of paralysis in the face.
Was taking a lot of heat for
Facial
the squirrel
paralysis
on the face, so I knocked that off this weekend. I went to get a filling, and this guy freaking hit me right here. He goes, I like to get the nerve, so it's really effective. Well, he is like, I can't feel my nose underneath my eye. Holy shit.
Now's a great time to get a face tattoo as well.
Yeah.
Someone actually just said in the comments, you look much better.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that. Yeah.
It's slightly
Thank
worn,
you.
but you look like a million times better. You just can't see, like, you look legitimately like you have Bell's palsy.
Is there anything
maybe you had a stroke.
Is there anything you can do to get rid of the
freezing?
No. Freezing quicker?
Nothing. No, you're fucked. You're
gotta
frozen
go
for the
through
rest
your
of the day.
system.
Yeah, you got to get it out.
I hung upside down for a bit on my table, just thinking that might help, but that did jack Johnny Canuck squat shit. I literally am drooling.
I'm just waiting to see if Maddie comes back in here. Pop back in. Oh, maybe he lost power. That might be the thing. Anyway, my point was this:
Winnipeg.
Yeah, he does live in Winnipeg, and they still have dial-up. Anyway, I was laughing.
They got to go to Mini for the flights.
Do you know what he did? Yeah, they do. They got to go to Minneapolis to fly anywhere decent. If you live in Winnipeg, it's like a 7-hour drive to the airport every time you go anywhere. It sucks. Anyway, Matt will come back and we'll talk with him from Sound Off Media. But more importantly, I was laughing because he takes this shit pretty seriously, right?
He doesn't like being live with us either.
He doesn't?
No, I don't think he's a big fan of it. So I was looking forward to that awkwardness. So I hope he does come back.
Oh, no, he's coming in. He's coming in. He just sent me a text.
Yeah.
But he and I were laughing because last couple of weeks ago, I had no idea this was going on. It might have been like 3-4 weeks ago. This Rogers announced this. Like, Rogers is one of Canada's biggest broadcasters, right? They own a ton of radio stations, TV stations, and they announced this and they do radio poorly. As you can tell by how few people work at those radio stations anymore, how little the return is, all that other stuff. So they're fucking up radio, like individually. Each company does. It's not just them.
Is Rogers doing a worse job than Bell?
Oh, it's. Pick and choose. It's neck and neck on a daily basis, right, Scotty? I mean,
no.
I mean, I worked for both of them. I did, and I can tell that, they are both big corporations, but they also do things differently. I enjoyed working with a lot of great people at both companies, but they are the corporate structure, and they care more about shareholder returns than they do about creating great content. Like, I remember doing a money giveaway contest on the radio, and the accounting lady was hounding me. How much money are we going to give away today? I need to tell that so they can let the shareholders know. And I'm like, in a small market in Brockville, Ontario. And I'm like, really? The shareholders care if Brockville gives away $100 or $300? That's going to make a big bottom line difference. And so, those kind of things can kind of get in the way, in my opinion, of creating great radio. So as long as if you work for a great company and they enable announcers and content producers to produce great content, then I think you're okay. And some of those companies still exist.
I think
not many, but yes.
Yeah, I think the thing about the consolidation of radio that's been hard on the broadcast industry, and I mean, if you listen to this podcast on a fairly regular basis, you've heard Dean shit all over terrestrial radio, and then me kind of pump the brakes every once in a while, because I still think there are some really good people left in the industry. And I think what the issue is, and this is just me outside looking in, of the bigger companies, and I've got lots of friends that still broadcast for those big companies, and I think the bigger issue is the fact that everyone is just scared. And when you're scared, you're not necessarily at your
creative best
creatively, and I think that's probably in my estimation their biggest issue, is that when you fire 15 or 10 or 15% of your staff every year in one of your sectors, you're not going to get the best out of those people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the bigger issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
I understand the shareholder conversation. I think these companies are trying to move into new areas. I think they are trying to be progressive in this industry. And Scott, you weren't in it that long ago, and I'm still in it, and that's my take on it. Right?
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, when I was working for the company, there are some progressive thinkers out there, but then there's also that underlying, how much is this going to cost? How is this going to affect our bottom line? And so I think that's where shows like this can really find a footing and really excel, because we're trying, all of us in our own ways, trying to do.
And then the other thing that happens, Scott, is when you end up stressed out of your mind, or you're not being as creative as you possibly can, you lean on some of the more traditional radio sort of tropes, I guess it is. Like we make fun of the 10 in a row, and I mean, let's tighten things up. And how many jocks can we find?
Let's add a spice category to the music.
One song an hour. We're going to play one country song an hour. That's going to blow their mind.
Spice category. We're going to add some Eminem to the country format. See how that goes.
And they've lost touch. They've lost touch with the audience. Like, I mean, I find it wildly entertaining to have any conversations about music on any level with anybody in radio, when everyone wandering around is a professional radio programmer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. With the Spotify, iTunes, especially.
You're not going to beat this. Everyone thinks they're a music expert.
Yeah. So, well, they are. And they can get anything anytime they want, right? They don't have to fucking wait for it. That's the thing. And I've said this 1,000 times to 1,000 people. It's like, well, I don't understand why you're single. Like, I told you about this, where a programmer called me like a couple of months ago, and he's like, can you listen to the morning show? And I'm like, I guess so. So I listened to the morning show. He called me. He's like, what do you think? I'm like, you should quit your job and go find a different gig, totally in a totally different industry, because there is no way you're saving any of that. And those people need to go and get different jobs too, because they suck. And it was, and I understand there's a human aspect to the business. I understand there's a human aspect to this, but back to what Matt was talking about before he froze, and Cundill's back from Sound Off Media. But back to what we were talking about, that the process is dead. The idea that someone's going to sit around for 10 songs in a row just to make sure you don't have commercials, when they can just go to their phone and fucking hammer a playlist and say, forget it. Or, the idea that someone at this point in time is going to appointment listen to a radio show that isn't an established character, personality driven show like Lachlan's, which he's fortunate enough to do at 95.7 Cruise FM in Edmonton on behalf of Harvard, who actually truly do believe in personalities still, which is incredible to me. This is kind of, Matt, to that point, this is where everybody has to land, right? This is where everybody who wants to get out of that industry, which is contracting much faster than everybody thought it would, they have to go and be able to not just find a home, they got to find a voice. Then they got to figure out, as podcasts go, like, take us through this. You got to figure out who's going to host your podcast, who's going to brand your podcast. How do you hashtag? Exactly how this whole thing works. How do you utilize analytics? What are best practices? I mean, this whole space is like the fucking Wild West, Matt.
How are you going to do it without making it sound like crap because there's echo in the room? How are you going to do it so that you don't buy the wrong microphone? How are you going to be able to record it and produce it so that it's a nice headphone listening experience? And I don't want to make it sound like everybody in radio immediately has to go and find something else to do. I think by the way, and Dean, you said this on the podcast when you came on, and Locke, you said it when you came on my podcast as well, and that there's tons of opportunity for radio to thrive. The problem is not radio. The problem is the business of radio and making decisions that, well, we don't want to hire as many personalities, or we should really be voice tracking more, and we should only have live bodies on from 6 to 6. The data is already there that most people want to hear live personalities on the air before music. That came out last year. That exists. We've already passed the intersection. 10 in a row doesn't make more listeners.
What about 11?
11, 14, it doesn't matter. It's people come to the radio for a
like
combination
nonstop.
of personality and music. So that's personality first and then music. And radio just hasn't picked up on it because you got to fill out a form. And then, Scott, you were mentioning this about the forms that need to be filled out so that the shareholders can clear it in Brockville so that you can get one live extra body on the air doing personality radio. Of course, when you do that, then you have to invest in finding somebody to train the personalities, to become bigger, better, stronger, faster, and all that stuff. And
I don't know if the programmers have the headspace right now, Matt, based on where they're at.
Let me ask you this, because you're still in radio. Is like how much of your job is spent being trained? Like how many radio people in radio get proper training on how to be compelling on a daily basis?
Let's be a little self-aware here and admit something to the listening public, that Locke has never been very trainable.
Matt knows that. Matt worked with you.
I worked after him.
Yeah.
Is
that what you heard? Is that the book? Is that the book on him? It was like, he wasn't very coachable.
I had to clean up his mess in Winnipeg.
Okay, here's the thing about the programming and I'll tell you a quick little story. I was chatting with a friend of mine who is a programmer out of market, and it's a lot like the Dean situation. And he had somebody on his afternoon drive, and he was like, I don't know what to do with this person. Like, can you have a listen? And I said, no. And he goes, what? I said, if you don't like what they're saying, get rid of them. Because he was doing everything to limit their talk time, like pulling talk breaks, making them talk over intros.
I wonder when a jock gets that news, like, hey, we're taking 4 breaks out of your hour. If they're like this, yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, I just need to do less. But that's the problem. That's also a lot of jocks. Jocks would be excited. Oh, you mean I only have to talk twice an hour? Oh, good. That's awesome. Yeah. And that's the issue we're at right now, is that you've got programmers trying to limit their announcers from talking as opposed to trying to get them to a point where they're entertaining enough to keep people listening.
Well, I don't even think it's in their wheelhouse anymore. Like for programmers, Matt, you would know this because you work with them. You guys, I mean, Locke, you would know this. Scott, you would know this as a former program director, which, by the way, if you're just catching up, we're all just talking shit about radio. And a program director is the dude who's in charge of everything that goes on the radio at a certain station, not the general manager. He's the program manager of all the programs that go on the signal. That's what Lachlan was.
They were so bad at being on air
that they got shipped into that stuff.
Themselves a career by managing.
Radio is that one career where you like, if you're a manager in radio, it's because you did a terrible job in radio.
On air.
Yeah, that's traditionally why. So, having said all that, Matt, that was you. Yeah, me too. Yeah. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm not on the radio anymore.
No, you got fired because they couldn't control you.
Ta-da! Here we are. But this is where you have to live now. Like, this isn't about and finding these answers that we're sitting here talking about, Matt. And we do this all the time because we help people with, as your business, our businesses are very intertwined. We're partners in this. We help each other, and we've been able to grow exponentially because you have found answers to be able to take people from that traditional space and say, here, let me comfort you a little bit with some tech. Let me comfort you with some numbers. And let me show you how this is done. That is what your business is. And if you're a podcaster and you have no idea how to start, Sound Off Media is the very first phone call you need to make, or the very first email. Sorry, I don't mean to make you
It's
busier.
like the reach around for podcasts.
Yeah, it's like the whoop. You got a little finger in there, probably a pinky, maybe an index. You don't know how it goes. Matt's really game for anything. All I'm saying is this: is that if you don't know anything about this industry, when you come from radio, it is not the same. And the reason why it's not the same is no one does everything for you. At a radio station, you've got equipment in front of you. You've got people making sure the equipment works. You've got people bringing you coffee. At least I did. Maybe someone to park your car. Probably me.
I don't have anybody parking my car,
all
bringing
of
me
those things.
coffee. No wonder
But
you're fired.
This is, I know, right? This is like an all hands on deck. You cannot have any ego. And you guys all know this, right, Matt? You cannot have any ego when you come out of that traditional space, because if you do, you're going to very quickly find out that this is all hands. This is you. This is everything you can do to learn this space, because it is so incredibly fucking different from traditional media, Matt.
It is
incredibly
keep a
different.
bit of ego.
Radio has nothing to do with podcasting and vice versa, other than the microphone and recording some audio. And I mean, radio predominantly is live anyway. I mean, there's some recorded stuff, but it's so, a lot of radio people immediately will go, I'm just going to start a podcast, and they get killed, because podcasting actually has more to do with like newspapers and magazines and the way stories are formed. And it's an on-demand space. So when you're in radio, Locke goes up every day. He's got to go up against like 12, 13, 14 different morning shows every day. That is completely different than podcasting, which is on demand. That just sort of, that people can go and access the audio anytime. And a lot of people in radio, they like put out their podcast, go, my podcast dropped at 7:00 this morning. Well, people don't need to listen to it at 7:00. They can listen to it, anytime over the next 7 years, as long as you keep it up on Apple and Spotify and whatnot. And so the first question I ask everybody, and I might have asked this to you, Scott, when we were talking, and it's to get you in the mind frame of what podcasting is. I say, well, what is Netflix's biggest competition? Anybody want to take a shot at that?
Facebook.
Pornhub.
It is sleep, because it's sleep, and that's why Netflix always
Explain that.
Well, because once you fall asleep, then you stop consuming Netflix, right? People just aren't going to, they don't go, oh, well, I'm not watching Netflix tonight. I'm going to go watch Crave, or I'm going to watch something else. Yeah. You're up against the time and the shit that people have to do in this world. And I tried explaining that to people in 2013, that we're in a spot, and just like you said, Dean, Facebook and all the other things that are out there, it's about time. And can you capture a few minutes of people's time in order to give them whatever Locke needs to do every morning? But in podcasting, I'm asking you to set aside 45 minutes so you can listen to one podcast episode with my guest every week. Can you do that? I got to market, and I've got to convince them to do that, because they've got to take the kids to hockey. They've got to do this. They've got television, maybe an NFL football game. There's a soccer match. There's all this shit that they have to do. And I have to fight my way through that with all these podcasts to convince people to just set aside a little time to do this. And radio, this is why radio is struggling, is because they're all just fighting over this sort of share of ear that is circling the drain at this point and getting lower and lower every year. And you're fighting over that piece, but you really need to ask for people's time when you do this. And just, a few minutes to listen to the show. This one in particular, people can get it live right now. It's great that, Dean, you got a live audience right now, but somebody's going to be listening to this 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
And 47% of podcast downloads are old episodes, things that happened a long time ago. And there's more than 2.4 million podcasts out there. So all you need to do is just ask for a little bit of time for people to consume the episode.
That's different, right? It's so incredibly different when you think about where we all came from. And I could see everybody shaking their head going, yeah, I mean, I get that.
And the thing that's great about working with Matt is he will teach you. If someone is out there interested in starting a podcast, he'll force you to answer the hard questions. Like when I first met with Matt to launch the Hot Wallet podcast, he asked me, the Netflix question, but then he also said, well, why do you want to do this in the first place? And it kind of took me back a bit. I'm like, dude, I want to give you money to like help me with something. Well, just why are you asking me why? Just like take my money so I can do this stupid thing.
Yeah.
But it really helped me focus on the mission, because it does take time. It takes time to put it all together, to do it correctly. And I feel like working with Matt, will elevate anyone who wants to get into podcasting or is interested in podcasting to learn what you need to learn, like a program director for podcasters. And, you know, to Locke's point, a lot of radio program directors out there, you know, they're just trying to keep the kids in order. They don't have time to coach their talent. But if you have the, you know, a contact like Matt, who can, you know, who can work with talent and work with podcasters, you know, then your podcast is only going to get better and better and better.
Yeah.
And 3 years to build an audience, and we're all building from scratch. And we have radio stories. I don't know. You can probably think of the station, or maybe it was the morning show or your show, Dean, when you started at the Edge. But after 3 years, you feel this momentum whereby, okay, I've got my audience. It is built. Radio stations at launch. I know that when we worked at the Bear in Edmonton, by year 3, that thing had, you know, that heritage status. And it takes 3 years to build just about anything. And Scott's going to find out that when he gets to, you know, about 3 years, which is about 1,000 episodes or 1,000 times, 1,000 run-throughs of whatever it is that you're doing, then you've conditioned the audience to, you know, to form a habit to consume you on a regular basis.
And we've seen that with our live. We've seen that specifically, I think, with our downloads. I mean, you know, not to, and I don't check stats that often. I'm not a stats guy. But the consistency with which you do your work in this space makes all the difference in the world. And I talk to people about this. They're like, what am I going to do? And I'm like, you got to do something that's niche. And they're like, okay, well, how many times do I do it? I'm like, you got to do it as much as humanly possible. And they're like, but I don't get paid for it. I'm like, and guess what? You're going to be doing that for 3 years. And you know how many people just beg out of the process after that conversation? It's truly fucking amazing. And I think part of it is that people in mainstream media have been conditioned to have things done for them, the way that this industry works. You said this at the start, Maddie, where you're like, hey, listen, radio's fine. The business of radio is not, right? That's kind of what we're talking about, is that that's still going on 20 years later. There are less people to help promote, help you actually produce a good show, help you develop professionally. And on top of it, you're not doing any of it yourself. So you're really not gaining any knowledge, right? Like that's what this has been for me.
They stripped stations bare.
Oh, totally.
I mean,
man, some stations don't even have a live. They've just got, you know, pegged signals that are coming in from all over the place, and they're trying to fucking make it work because they're trying to save money. But going back to that point, why then would radio assume that they could award contests and winners of contests for Canada's Next Top Podcast if not only can they not do radio right, but you and I both know how fucking hard this space is, and it has nothing to do with radio at all. Case in point, Rogers had this contest not long ago called Win $10,000 Cash Prize and Be Canada's Next Great Podcaster. This was in conjunction with GoDaddy, a promotion that all Rogers stations, I believe, were doing across Canada. It's another one. I think this is in Leamington. I don't know where it is. $10,000 cash prize, Canada's Next Great Podcaster. Now, you looked into this, and they're not the only ones that have done it. iHeart did it too. iHeart is a radio company that just tries to fucking have a digital presence, and it's really a mess. Long story short, these are aggregates. These people are doing contests and now trying so fucking hard to protect an industry that is almost dead, right? So that there's that. And now what they're trying to do is they're trying to dip their toes into podcasting, and they're trying to equate what this is in this digital space with what they do. And they're trying to say, hey, listen, we're really good at that. But all of them are terrible to a man. Rogers, Bell, every single media company does not give two fucks about what they're doing in terms of digital on-demand content, in terms of promoting real personalities, in terms of living in this space and making money and generating revenue in this space. They're protecting and hanging on dearly to this old fucking shitty business model. And now they're kind of trying to dip their toes into something they know nothing about. But what is that contest? So why are they doing it? And how did it go, by the way?
I don't know what the end result was, although it's a 404 now if you try to access the website for the contest. So maybe it ended. Maybe they moved on from it.
Oh, they didn't award it. They canceled the whole fucking thing.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, listen, I think that this comes down to one thing, and it's sort of why I started my company. And that's about IP. So, you know, when you work at a radio station and you record something, or if you do a Facebook Live, or if you do, who owns that content? If you do voiceover, if you're doing it. So I think you need to pay attention to your digital rights if you're going to work at a radio station. And so I asked a question. I mean, actually, I went into the rules to find out. And then I think I asked the question on their Facebook page. I just said, beware, who owns this content? And I looked, and it looked like that Rogers would own your content if they awarded this prize. So it would be the equivalent of paying somebody $10,000 for their podcast. And I go, that's it? And you really think about the number of hours that goes into make a podcast, and $10,000, it seems like a bit of a steal and a deal. Well, then I went through a little bit more of the rules, and I found out that GoDaddy was going to have a little bit of some of the ad presence in the show. And then the show would have had to have been hosted on the Frequency Podcast Network, which is owned by Rogers, and actually does have a number of great podcasts. And I'll touch on that in just a second. But in terms of the contest, I was like, well, because one of the podcasters I worked with did enter it. And I'm like, don't do that. You'll actually lose your intellectual property. Should you win this prize, you actually lose. So by winning this contest, you'll get $10,000, but you'll actually lose. And then we read the rules a little bit further, and it looked like the whole thing was just a random draw anyway, which makes it even worse. So,
that's crazy. I'm canceling my my application right now. So I was gonna apply, but I could really use that money. But
yeah,
so all that works. So you go into this contest.
Puts the Jedi Jimmy podcast in.
Yeah, we should have. They don't want it. All this work, Rogers is like, we're gonna find the next best podcaster. They get called out by you and a few other people on, hey, this is a random draw, and of course you steal all of their shit after you give them 10 grand. So you really do lose everything. Like all that was a cash grab, us an ability to go and say, hey, listen, we're in the podcast game. That's what it felt like to me. But when you went through the rules were. This is a random draw. It has nothing to do with how good your podcast is. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Yeah, maybe maybe it was, maybe it could have been legal boilerplate. I don't know how that got there. I don't think any.
Well, it's wrong.
It's not right. And like my company, I set it up because I want people that when you do a podcast, so like Scott, I don't own your stuff. Dean does not own your stuff. You retain 100% control of your podcast. And you even control your sales inventory in there as well. And I think that's the most important part, because when I see this is why radio stations do not have more podcasts going out. One, there's nobody to put it all together. The producer's obviously doing 100 different markets. You have to put so much production into making a good podcast that they just don't have the time to do it. But even if they could, you get your morning show host who's recording this podcast, and they don't even own the intellectual property to it. So when you fire that morning show host, they don't get to take the podcast with them. And then the company would get to keep the podcast. They don't have any need for the podcast as well, with the former morning man, and the morning guy can't take it with them anyway. So this is why these podcasts never happen. It's a conversation you have to have, and it doesn't have to
podcasts with radio are what we
rebroadcast. You're just stripping a show, right? And then you're throwing.
We just rip the show, and we don't have a producer. We do all that shit on our own,
and that's repurposed radio. That's fine.
And then we add a little bit of exclusive content.
Hey now, everybody.
I mean, that's not going to last very long, though. That's going to last until tomorrow, or maybe at the end of the week at best, if you had a few good guests on. And listen, a podcast I listen to every day.
Want to get into my marriage?
I do.
I listen to The Herd with Colin Cowherd. It's a sports show, but I listen to it at night. It's just time shifted audio. It works for me. It's there is some radio that works very well in podcasts. Terry O'Reilly's show from CBC, Under the Influence, is one of the best, and you can listen to it anytime. But so much morning radio is about surveillance and things happening now and locally. That's not going to develop a big audience. So other than just
we strip all that shit out.
Yeah.
We
don't put
any in the news or
time temperature.
We put there are elements
Liners?
of the show that are what's that?
Liners?
No.
This hour brought to you by Mr. Plumber.
No, we strip all that shit out, and we put the meat of the show into
Happy
the
birthday
podcast.
to Scott. He
Not
gets
that I'm
free
trying
ice
to
cream
sell
cake.
my locker room. We did do the birthday corner today. Okay, but
keep
hold on.
lifting for Coldplay tickets.
Hey,
I need to tell you,
it's the 10th of April. Who's celebrating a birthday today? Honk honk. That one. You do
they did this on purpose. They put the birthday corner into the locker room to piss me off.
They should.
It's the worst fucking radio.
Dude, you should have fun with that. They asked me to do a birthday pizza once, and I told them to go fuck themselves. It's just what I do, right? Hey, Dean, we're going to give away a birthday pizza in the morning because I was doing these things called birthday beegers. So if a guy got a shout out, his wife would give him a blowjob on the radio. And I'm like, birthday beeger today for Mike. Mike's wife's in the car. You got to give him a blowjob now, lady. And he's like, yeah, thanks, brother. Hoot, hoot. You know, he'd call in and stuff like that. And then they're like, hey, you know the birthday feature you do, the birthday beeger? Can we give away a pizza with that? I'm like, no, we cannot. Anyway, so I'm here doing digital media.
I would have.
I can't believe that.
Totally
I can't believe that
jumped on
didn't
the
catch
pizza
on
thing.
countrywide. I don't know why every station didn't pick that up.
You mean I got a blowjob and a pizza? What is wrong with you, Dean? You needed me back then.
We have actual news, too, because Matt is so good at his job. He attracts some of Canada's finest. Now, we don't know a lot about this, but they are joining our network. I'd like to say hello to two of Canada's premier broadcasters, Wendy Mesley from CBC, who was let go for some kind of bullshit, and my dear friend, Maureen Holloway. Now, Maureen is a radio legend, 40 years in the industry. She got absolutely fucked over at CHFI. Her and Darren did a tremendous job, huge ratings, and they got fired because they wanted to have a younger end demo and better representation. So they hired two people of color. She's not angry about that, although she did take it pretty hard when they let her go in October, and she kind of canceled everybody. So they got together, these two lovely, brilliant, smart professionals.
They look like they could be sisters, eh?
Don't they? Yeah, they're both the same hair, both very pretty ladies. They're both very professional, but you won't find two better pros, and they're in the game. And they chose Matt and, of course, Sound Off and DeanBlundell.com to get involved with. And we couldn't be more excited, Matt. But, like, what's that like? What's it like going to two, like, professionals with, like, maybe 70, 80 years experience combined and them saying, we want to do a show, Women of Ill Repute, it's called. And if you know Mo and if you know Wendy, that is a fucking great title. But what's that like? I mean, you know, there's a whole re-education process, right?
Well, I'm scared shitless.
You should be. That's the smartest thing I've ever heard you say.
Yeah,
you're a pretty smart guy, Matt.
Very smart. Yeah.
I mean, they came to me and they're like, we have this idea and this is what we want to run with. I'm like, okay. And you think about, how do I not fuck this up? And so I'm spending a lot of time thinking about, the production value, what's it going to sound like, and what's it going to sound like when the microphones go on, and what are we going to record, and who's going to be the guests, and all that stuff. And these are the things that we're working through right now, but they've got a great handle on it. But listen, they learn quickly. I showed them, some of the tools, such as, how to record, remotely, how to record together. Here's some microphones. And, it's the learning curve of the whole thing. And there is a bit of a, with radio people, especially people who worked in radio a long time, I don't want to call it a de-nerding process, but there's a little bit of unlearning that needs to be done when it comes to, radio. And it's like, well, what's the jump off point? And I'm like, well, actually just go and do it. And I think that's up for anybody who's thinking about starting a podcast. I think there's an idea about, when do I start? What does episode 1 sound like? And the truth of the matter is the first 3 or 4 episodes are going to be rough. And, 5 through 10 are going to get a little bit better. And by episode 20, you'll have the hang of it. It just takes time to build and refine the sound until you get it the way you want it to sound. But this is something that they're aiming to launch in June, wherever you get your podcasts.
Oh,
Matt.
Nice tease.
Matt, can I, the next time we have you on, can you do something for me?
Yeah.
I want a bear rug back there and that fire on.
All right. I think if I light that fireplace, the house will burn down.
Just pour some creosote in there, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Get a chimney sweep in there to clean it out.
I'm going to light that thing tomorrow. I don't mean to, by the way, ruin the podcast by talking about the weather, but has anybody seen the forecast for Winnipeg?
Yeah, you guys are getting fucked.
Yeah.
Well, it's Winnipeg.
You're getting ham-fisted.
You going to get some snow? You going to get
80
a couple
centimeters in some places.
Yeah, it's going to be 15 here tomorrow. Yeah. 80 centimeters in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
I don't even understand why people fucking stay there, dude. Like, I have no idea why people stay there. You at this point, you're quite successful. You and I are taking over parts of the podcast world. You should probably just move here.
Have I told you that we're opening up a Barcelona
No.
office. Yeah. Stand by. There'll be an office open in Barcelona shortly.
I would fucking
Your
do that in a
girlfriend
heartbeat.
can teach yoga anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, in Spanish, I don't think she knows Spanish.
Oh, dude, Rosetta Stone. Just get her to fucking speak into her
She's
Google
been doing
thing and then put it
Duolingo
on.
all winter.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, oh, you can do this job anywhere. That's the bonus of it. Before we let you go and we get to Scott, we're going to talk Elon Musk in just a second. I do want to let you know that we did this for you, Maddie. We absolutely did this for you. We have a merch store, a shop at deanblundell.com, and we have the goat collection, which is just now. This is Lachlan's baby, by the way. We put up a Matthews goat shirt, and he's like, "Fuck you guys. Where's the Connor McDavid one?" And because he's in charge of the merch store, this is what happened. So we have goat merch now available. Now, depending, because we're heading into the playoffs, you're a big Habs fan, so you won't be doing anything in the playoffs other than watching us, be excited. You can get a Goudreau goat hat, shirt, lady tee. Same thing with our Connor McDavid.
Johnny
It's all
Hockey.
in team colors. Yeah, absolutely. We've got JT Miller. You have obviously got 81, which is Kyle Connor. We're going to sell about 2 of those probably because it's a Winnipeg dude. He's going to get crushed in this contest, like crushed. Then you got Gaudreau, and then you got Carey Price. You got to pay homage to the GOAT. And I will say this. Lachlan almost left the Habs off the GOAT T-shirt contest. Almost left the whole thing off because he was like, I fucking hate the team. And I'm like, you got to put Carey Price there. He struggled. He's a hero. He's a wonderful man. All those things. And even
say that.
like that was like, it was a 4-hour conversation where I had to try and convince
say any
him.
of this. I will tell everybody what actually happened.
All right.
So, Matt, they were trying to convince me, oh, good, let's ISO Locke's like elephant man face.
Don't worry, the junk behind you takes the focus off your face.
All we can see are those Gowan CDs. That's it.
I think I have a Gowan in there. He's with Sticks now anyway, so we don't need to worry about Gowan. So, what ended up happening was these jagoffs in Ontario started getting a raging boner for Mouth Merkin Matthews, okay, and talking about how he is the best player in the NHL. And I went, hold on, he's on a heater right now, but that is not. I'm not even entertaining that conversation. So they put this jersey up on the Dean Blundell store, these GOAT shirts with his number in it. I can't wait till he gets sued by the Leafs. And then it started to sell. And I'm like, that's embarrassing. So I said, we should put a McDavid one up there, McJesus. And we should put a 97 shirt up there in the Oilers colors to see if people start buying that. And then somebody said, well, we should put somebody from every team in the Canadian out of the Canadian NHL teams. So then there was a discussion about whether we leave the Habs off because of humor, and
it wasn't a discussion. No. You're doing it again.
I said
that wasn't a discussion.
I said I wanted
in an
to do
email, a company-wide email, Matt. Company-wide email. He's like, we're doing every Canadian team. We'll see who buys the most shirts, and we'll do a little contest, right? Like if more people buy Matthews GOAT shit as opposed to McDavid GOAT shit, we'll do a little fun contest. We'll sell some merch, might donate some money, all that stuff. And in the email, it's like well drawn out at bullet points. He even fucking used bold and italics and underlined certain things. Like he's like, but we're not doing the Habs because I fucking hate them. And then just kept writing the email, like the whole thing. And I'm like, dude, you got to use Carey Price.
I also put Lucic 17 on the Flames one.
Why?
Because I thought that was funny.
I want you to know, Matt, that I had your back, and we have now a Carey Price GOAT shirt.
Listen, I got to Power 97 in Winnipeg. I said, "Where's the rush?" There was no rush in the library. There was no killers. Locke had banned the killers for some reason. I mean, there all these little things.
Not a rock band.
I know. Well, I had to undo a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, but then we put the killers on. We got an extra 2 share points. It was great. I look fantastic. Hey,
all I'm saying, we should go back and look at the ratings.
It was not a tough act to follow, is all I'm saying.
Hold it. Can we go back?
Formats after
Why do I
left.
find it? Why do I find it absolutely believable that Grudge Lachlan decided he was going to wipe out the Killers from a playlist?
Oh, I
Why
did.
do I
I refused.
Yeah, I
to
know
play
you
them.
did. Yeah, I know because
No,
you
that's
just
a
don't
famous
like them.
story in the music industry in Canada.
That's a
That was
terrible
back in the
business.
day when music directors actually made decisions that made sense for the radio station. I went to see them, and I'm like, they're not a rock band, and they're trying to convince me that they're going to bring up the numbers, and I'm like, there is 95% women at this show.
Yeah, you want them listening
We're
too,
a
dude.
cock and balls radio station in the middle of the fucking prairies where everyone's angry.
Women fill out those little books.
Yeah,
Locke.
dude.
The men don't fill out the books.
Scott is immediately a better program director than you.
Yeah, so am I think, actually. Probably not bad. Pretty good. At least I wouldn't make spite decisions that would lead to my firing.
Why don't we get some Mr. Brightside beds underneath the podcast then?
Because then we'd have to pay royalty fees. I don't feel like doing that either. So we got you to do the harmonica. Matt.
I still don't think it was a bad idea.
It's pretty good. It's a terrible idea. Dude, that's one of the biggest bands in the last 15 years. You're like, I'm not playing them because I don't like them. I just don't like them. That's not your job, but I love you for it. Matt Cundill, Sound Off Media, podcast wizard. Listen, if you're looking to get into a podcast, if you're professional grade, hobby grade, but you want to get to professional grade, if you got the time, and if you listen, and I'm talking to you, and I'm going to ISO me for this. I'm going to ISO me for this just one time. I don't ISO me for much. I can tell you this. If you're in traditional media, I want you to listen to me very, very, very carefully. Get the fuck out. Get out. Run.
Don't listen.
Call Matt. No, call Matt. No. Sound Off Media.
No, call me.
Text him. No, don't call Lachlan. Get out. Run. Take your shit. Me. Take a box. Clean it all up, and get the fuck out before Christmas because they're going to start turning your signals off. I'm going to tell you that right now. Anyway, just wanted to pass that along. Matt, thanks for doing this, bro.
I can help you guys all out. Listen, call me. I'll keep you in the game.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, buddy. Great to see you. Matt Cundill from Sound Off. There he is. He's a good
Take care,
man.
Matt. It's good seeing you.
Yeah. Is that true that he was a better program director than you? Feels like it.
Absolutely not.
I have to wait for him to leave.
Dude, the Killers could sell out the Saddle Dome. The Killers could sell out.
I don't care, Scott. I don't care.
That's why you just went. Maybe I'll just be on the morning.
We had like a 20. We had a 20 share when I left. 2 years after I left, they flipped it to something called Big. I don't even know what it was. They played like Garth Brooks and Midnight Oil, and they destroyed a heritage class or a heritage rock station.
Well, that's okay. That's all right. Yeah, you're now you're in a world famous podcast, and you're in Edmonton. And
I was a horrible programmer, not because of what came out of the speakers, but because of how I handled staff.
Did you hit them? Did you touch them, Locke? Is that?
I'll tell you,
you're not allowed to do that.
It's not that I didn't know the business. I just hated people.
Here's the thing, Scotty. I found out the hard way that everybody needs to be managed and handled differently. You can't just assume that everybody has the same sort of idiosyncrasies that you do. So I treated everybody the same way, and this is how I treated people in radio. If you can't have fun doing this job, go sell fucking shoes. It's the greatest job on the planet, and it made no sense to me when people struggled in the industry. So I was very hard on some people, and it was usually the lazy dicks that had a real problem with me. And unfortunately, you can't sit somebody down and tell them a month or two before you fire them that you can't stand having them around. They suck the life out of the building. And that as soon as you convince management to let you, I'm going to fire you. Apparently, that is not something you can do with your staff.
No.
So,
amazing.
No, but at least you know.
Some people
right?
loved me. Some people to this day will tell you that I was the best program director they ever had. And we had a ton of fun. There was a couple of people that I did not gel with. And unfortunately, a good manager figures out how to manage and motivate everybody. I was not good at that. And I should never have been given the reins to a radio station. And that's me being self-aware. And I have never done it since I got
Do you know how many
fired.
people would normally, like, other people would sit here and go, I was the fucking best. Like, we would not know that you were as shit a program director as you were had you not just said, yeah, I was not a good program director. It's a lot of people would stand there and go, yeah, I was the fucking best. That's why I
I'll
like
fight. I'll fight Matt to the death on whether or not the station sounded good with the Killers or not.
Yeah, probably
Because
sounded a little bit better. Probably did. Everybody loves the Killers. Anyway, speaking of Killers,
I do want, sorry, Dean, really
yeah,
quick.
yeah,
I do
please.
want to bring up a point that Locke made when we were talking about radio and podcasting, because, you know, a big problem I think with radio is the fact that everyone is stretched so thin and
Yeah.
everyone expects so much from everyone, including their program directors. You know, I wasn't just a program director. I was a program director, music director. I did promo. Oh, and I had an afternoon shift. Yeah, I
Mhm.
wonder why some aspects of my job weren't done as well as others. But when I got started in radio, you know, to kind of bridge onto that personality and why podcasting, I think, really can help people elevate who they are and help them find a creative outlet. When I got started, my first job in radio, which, by the way, was at the same station that Marianne Iverson started at, which I think is interesting. They sat me down, program director, general manager sat me down and said, "We want to take the Scott off of the radio. We like your sound. We think you have a nice voice, but we just want to take the Scott out of your show." And I think that that is something that I have always remembered.
I don't even understand what that means. Like, he doesn't want
It
you to
means
be
they didn't want any
yourself?
personality. They just wanted him
Nope.
to actually read fucking liners.
Just read the liners. That's how my career started. And so I feel like,
Welcome
you know,
to the show.
if program directors did more of a job to actually, you know, teach me. I'm someone who I want to learn. I want to learn everything. If they sat down and say, "You know what, we're going to work with you on a daily basis to get you where we need you for the sound of the station," then I feel like trajectory of my career would have been completely different, because I would have had so much more confidence. You know, I was always nervous as hell going on the air, but nervous as hell after an air check when they say, "We don't want any of your personality, but thanks for showing up."
Jesus Christ.
You know, I think makes it hard. So that's where
And there's so many
podcasting
of
can-
those people still left in this business, and it is so unfortunate.
So they hire you to do a personality, reputation-based job. When you get there, they don't want you to use your reputation or personality. They just want you to talk because they like how you sounded. That's like, you know,
That's how I
what that
started.
does to someone. That's to their first gig. You know what that does to a human being
That's death.
who gets hired and says, "By the way, we just wanted your voice. You're an idiot. We don't like." That's what I would hear. That's what I heard, right? And so after that, you crack the mic. Your hands are sweaty, knees weak. I mean,
I would have fought at least one of them in that room right then and there. That's awful. I want to go find them now and fight them.
I believe they both still work in the industry, and for what it's worth, I'm pretty sure they both still don't like me.
Yeah,
but that's.
Well, where do they work in the industry? Tell me what towns they
work.
Give
me their
in.
names.
No, I'm not gonna.
Are they small towns?
They are.
Yeah, and are they stuck there? And do they have transferable skills? And how much more money? 10 times? You made 10 times what you made in radio last year? Is that correct?
Yeah, something along those lines.
10
between
times?
5 and 10.
And you have a job and your own podcast, and you're a trader, and you're more successful, happy, and secure than you've ever been. I believe you're going to Hawaii for a couple of weeks with the family. Is that correct?
We are. We leave on Sunday.
Guess where those two cocks won't be?
Hawaii.
In Hawaii.
Not staying at our resort.
No, they can't afford it.
No, I know, and you know, it's so yeah, you know, I just wanted to bridge on your point, Locke, because I do believe that, you know, despite your history of, you know, making bad music decisions, I do believe that you have a good programming sense for radio. I mean, and you'd have to, with how long you've been able to be in the business and be successful.
I appreciate that, Scott. I listen, I love this business, and again, I always feel like I got to defend it when I'm on with Dean. But there are a lot of really good people out there. And
see that comment? See that comment from DaCosta? I used to stand outside the Edge and watch Dean every day. Dozens of people just standing there watching me.
You had a great show, Dean.
The best.
Dean, you did. And I understand Dean's position on radio and where we are right now in the industry, and I think we're in trouble. We are. Broadcast radio, terrestrial radio is definitely in trouble, and a lot of times I think we're making the wrong decisions. And again, it was based on, in my opinion, it's based on the fact that what you said, everyone is stretched to the limits. They don't have time, so we're we're leaning on tropes and things that we did in the past to try to be successful, because it's all we can grasp at creatively right now, right? And it's unfortunate.
Tough industry. I mean, and I feel sorry for the people that are in it. I do. I'm not upset with the people that are on the air. I feel terrible for them. Like, I feel like, and I was talking with another radio person. It's like hostage shit. You know, when you talk to other radio people, it's like, I don't know how to get out. I want to get out.
You know why?
You're fortunate because you're really good at your job. And the company you work for, Harvard, is an excellent company that still believes in personalities.
But I'm telling you right now, I'll give everybody a tip. We have the same consolidation issues. I mean, we've got a program director that's running 3 radio stations. Like, we got the same issues that all the big companies do too, right? We just went through COVID as well, right? I mean, that decimated this business as well.
Sure.
The one thing that I've always done is, and again, it takes I'm a certain type of personality. I steamroll my way into stuff, and I don't take no for an answer. I created this bubble around me, and I treat my radio show like my own radio station.
Mm-hmm.
And I program it. And the 3 of us do everything. We get help. I'm not suggesting we don't get help. We get help, but I'm telling you right now, we create ideas, we come up with stuff, we launch shit, we do.
But you have to do that because of consolidation. It's just a function of where the industry is. It's not because you're like heroes, or it's because you're interested in still doing a good job. And so you got to cover some ground over here, cover some ground over there, until you can get to a point where, you know, you're either on your own or doing your own thing, right? Like, it's a very, very difficult medium.
Podcasting too, Dean.
Well, it has to. Like, I cannot, and Scott, you can speak to this. Locke, you can speak to this too, because you've been doing this on your own with us in some individual or team form. Is like, you have to do everything in podcast. It's not like radio. Well, like in radio, you're doing everything right now because you have to, right? You're conditioned to do it. When you're in a digital space, you have to do everything, from your own promos to your hashtags to your trending to your metadata to your slug lines to
and you got to learn all this shit.
And you got to figure it out. Like, there's
52,
no choice.
I don't know. I didn't know any of this shit before getting into it. And you know what's interesting about the radio business is that I still meet guys that are like, man, I can't get anybody to do any of my ideas. They're like, I have all these great ideas. I don't know why. Like, I'm like, how do you do it, Locke? How did you get the lawn darts tournament going? I just did it. I bought them. I organized it, signed everybody up, came up with prizes, executed it. Jimmy's fucking just running around with a spray can, marking fucking courts. Like, we do everything. We do everything because that's what you have to do. And then we got videos. Then I fucking got a listener, Wade, who has a podcast, by the way. Wade, can you come take pictures? Wade takes pictures. Then we do post fucking shit afterwards. You have to treat your shit like it's your own fucking business, or you're gonna die. If you're sitting around showing up at work 5 minutes before you have to go on the air, flipping open your favorite web page for something to talk about, and then walking out of there at 5 o'clock and maybe doing a TikTok at noon, thinking you fucking done a full day's work, you're going to be dead fucking last in the ratings in a fucking heartbeat. In a fucking heartbeat, because now you're not just competing. And Matt talks about me going up against the other morning shows in this marketplace. You're not competing against other radio stations. You're competing against this bullshit, against Netflix. You're competing against everything. And if you can't get that through your fucking head, I got that through my head fucking 20 years ago. 20 fucking years ago. And I still meet fucking jocks that walk in, sit down, the old jock with the newspaper. All right. Oh, there's a story.
Oh, yeah. Do you guys remember that when you used to rip newspaper articles apart? Do you remember that? I had an X-Acto knife. I would cut the newspaper articles out. But yeah, you bring up a great point.
10 o'clock and think their gig's over.
and think they're incredible too, right? And
they think they're God's
but
gift
wait
to
till
this
those
business.
dudes get like a real life experience. We've all had one, right? We've all hit that fucking point. Scotty, you had. I mean, when you get to the point,
Yeah.
you
No,
got your
Scotty
own
burnt
podcast.
out.
Scotty, you burnt out, and you're like, I got to do something else. Correct?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I think if you're working in a major market in Canada, you can put everything into your show. But if you're in a small market, I live in Lethbridge, we're a 6-station market. 3 of the radio stations play Maroon 5. And, I find if you're in one of those markets, it makes it really hard because you're doing middays, but you're also promotions. Oh, and maybe you can help out with the sales call. And hey, can you voice this thing? And so in a media market, you are doing literally everything. And it came to me, when I'm program director, music director in promo meetings, helping with sales, then, oh yeah, crap, I got to do my show too. And the show became the throwaway, like, oh yeah, I got to be on the radio. Like that just is a thing that gets in the way of the work that I'm trying to do. And so when you unfortunately, when you are piled on with all this other stuff, the most important element of radio, of what comes out the box, suffers. And I think that that's what we're seeing across the country.
Across the country. Well, not just Canada. It's happening all over.
Industry. Yeah. Industry wide. I mean, it doesn't really know a border, and it's tech related, personality related, and it's like tight anus related, right? Like every single one of those companies, the Bells and the Rogers and everybody that owns media in this country is like, the only thing we can't do is allow someone to affect the brand. Well, the brand sucks without the people, right? It sucks without great people. And that's exactly what you're seeing. Contraction in this business, as sad as it is, because I know real people are attached to it, every time it happens, I know why it happens. And here's why it happens. Why it happens is that you've got individuals that are VPs of Rogers Radio, VPs of Bell Radio, VPs of different things, that are their bonuses and their financial remuneration is directly tied to how much money they come in under budget. It's called a head count bonus. Okay. Now, how that works in this industry now is, if you can come in, if you've got, let's say you got a radio budget of 25 million, right?
This isn't just broadcasting though, too. I mean, that's worth mentioning.
This is traditional media. This is like the contraction in traditional media. And so what happens is executives that are paid to protect this industry don't give a fuck about the industry. They give a fuck about the bonus that's in their contract that says, come in under budget, we'll give you $1 million. We'll give you shares in the company. That's all we care about. I can tell you this to be true because I've talked to a couple of different people, and I know these people, is that a lot of people that are in those positions to be gatekeepers for that industry, right? The VPs of radio of these major mainstream media companies, same thing with television, same thing. All of those people are looking to be the fucking industry hero somehow. They're all looking to see if they can come up with an idea that'll make them, stand out, make them, kind of look like they're saving radio, make it look like they're saving television or media. And not only do they not have a fucking clue, they don't even know how it fucking works. Yeah, here's my great idea. We're going to do this, this, and this. And what they've ignored is the fact that none of this works without going to find good people and legitimately doing the work to understand the industry. Legitimately doing it, right?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the music from 1984 to 1989. We're going to focus on that. We're going to give this a name that's a human name. And then we're going to put funny little comedy skits between the songs.
Everybody will love it.
And it's a brand new format. They're going to rush to the dial and we'll sell the shit out of it.
Alex, Doug, Bob, Terry, what is the name of that format? Doug?
Larry
FM.
Mine's Larry.
Very
anyway,
relatable. Very
we're
relatable.
out. We're happy. And Scotty is here because, I'm very happy.
I think that's what's happening.
No,
here.
I'm not. You do the best job in the country. What you do. You're going to be there for a long time, and you bring all kinds of value to that place, and they should appreciate you. But Scotty's here. Hot Wallet is the name of his podcast, and we were talking about Elon Musk a couple days ago, and it was fucking crazy because the Elon Musk shit gets weirder and weirder. And you're a big crypto guy. He's into Dogecoin. We were supposed to have you on last week, but I fucked you, and I'm so sorry because I double booked everything. I'm a terrible organizer. But I wanted to get to it because it's fucking serious. So Elon Musk, as everybody knows, recently purchased 9.2% in stake in Twitter. Now, he the shit around his purchase is in question, to say the least. As someone who follows the markets, as someone who knows this story back to front, today we find out that Twitter is not allowing him to join the board of directors because they did a background check and it wasn't good for the company. Now, I'll get to what they found in the background check in just a second. It's fucking hot. Let me just like Zorro mask hot. Anyway, what the fuck is going on with Elon Musk? If he hates Twitter so much, why did he spend $3 billion? And tell me about how he did it, because he managed to not only create news, clout, followers, all that other bullshit, but he made $600 million in the process. Is that what I understand?
Yeah. So this is the brilliance of Elon Musk. And, you know, I know there's a lot of billionaire haters out there, but I think Elon is actually genius in his ability to create
Manipulate
hype,
shit.
to troll, you know, to do all of this stuff. And so he loves Twitter. And why does he love Twitter? You know, because he is someone who actually uses the platform in a way that no one else does. You don't see Tim Cook from Apple answering questions from people on Twitter saying, hey, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll put that in the next update. And that's what Elon does. And so, of course, he wants to have more control over this platform that he utilizes so well. So I think he is.
Can I just
I think-
interrupt, Scott?
Yeah, please.
I thought part of the motivation was that he was mad at Twitter, that he didn't like their censorship laws right now, or that their rules and regulations revolving around keeping people quiet. Is that wrong? Am I off base on that?
No, I think you're completely right in
Okay.
that. And so that's why a lot of people are saying, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag on it, because some people are saying this is going to be great for free speech. And other people say, oh, crap, is he going to let Trump back on? You know, and so there really is kind of that kind of back and forth. But I'm excited for that, because I think Twitter is hardly, you know, living up to its potential.
How?
I mean, my goodness,
How?
it doesn't
Okay,
have
first
an
of all,
edit
let me
button.
just. Well,
Dean, it doesn't have an edit button.
It
Like,
doesn't.
what the
There's
F
a
is
reason
with
why.
you know,
There's
and
a really
so
simple reason why they don't have an edit button.
They do
why?
know.
So
They're working on it though. It's just coming out. It's coming out
Yeah.
later.
14
don't-
late.
you know,
14
I don't
years
think
too
they'll
late.
ever have it. Okay, and here's why. So I tweet something just innocuous, and it doesn't even matter what it is. And I say, and then you go, Scott, you go, I like that. And then you retweet it or re-quote tweet it.
Yeah.
And then I go back an hour later and I put
fuck
something awfully racist in there. And now all of a sudden, Scott,
Fuck
you're
you over.
tied to that tweet because you quote tweeted it, and I didn't change it enough. I just changed it just a little bit to just make it look like you were still in agreement with my wildly racist tweet.
Mhm.
That's why they don't have an edit button. All they have is a delete button.
I think with software, they would be able to let me know, hey, Lachlan changed his tweet. Do you still endorse this? Do you still want to say this? And, give you the ability. Or what they have now with Twitter Blue is where they, you have like 30 seconds or a minute to like edit it. And I paid for Twitter Blue for 2 months and I never really, made that big of mistakes. And so I thought, forget it. I won't pay for it anymore. But then one time I, tweeted something out. 3 hours later, I saw, oh, you know what? There's a typo, but I got a bunch of likes. I wish I could just change that typo. And so I think there is an ability to do it. But Alok, I appreciate what you're saying. And I understand that aspect of it, that there is, potentially some malfeasance that could happen. But I think that
and people will manipulate that. That's something that they will go out of their way. You'll start seeing it immediately.
Have you watched how Twitter's being used by Russia? Fuck. I mean, Jesus Christ.
It's being, I mean, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
So sorry, Scotty. So back to Elon. Like, not about edit buttons, not about deletion. It's not like, what's his boner? Like, why did he spend $3 billion? To me, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, change my mind. Did he spend $3 billion just to be an asshole? Like, is that what he did? Did he spend $3 billion just to troll, to create clout? Did he spend $3 billion to make $600 million just to watch the stock price go up? Like, explain that to me, because he's now no longer on the board.
So think about media companies. We've been talking about radio and media companies for a while. The traditional media companies, what are they? TV, newspaper, radio. That's it. What is the new media? What's the next media? Well, it's social media. And so he is getting a piece of the future of how we disseminate information. I mean, that's where I learn everything. I typically don't need to watch the news. I do because I like CBC News. They do a good broadcast, and maybe I'll miss something, but I get everything from Twitter. I get everything from Twitter. And so he just is owning a piece of the future of what media will be.
Why is he acting like such a prick about everything? Like yesterday, they were like, he's not going to join the board. And then he's like, we should take the W out and just call it titter. And everybody's like, ooh.
Again, it's just a troll thing. He's just messing with
He's just
everybody.
having fun. He's just
totally
like $283 billion in the bank. He could just kind of be any kind of person that he wants, I guess.
What's the insider trading thing?
Yeah.
So I'm not aware of any insider trading thing, but is that what the conflict is?
Well, so here's the thing, is because
he probably told a family member, hey, guess what? I'm buying some Twitter. And then they bought Twitter.
No, dude. Like he started buying up stock, I think like a month and a half ago, right? So he started buying up stock
January, yeah.
Yeah. And no one knew what was going on. Everybody's like, and then in March, it gets announced after his Twitter poll that this is what he's going to do. Like he had been doing it the whole time, but he went out and made it look as if he had just purchased it because he was kind of fucking around with a Twitter poll and had $3 billion to splash out on. But was there anything unbecoming with how he bought in and played that up until he announced his purchase?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Because he's not the first person to buy stock and then announce that he's bought stock. I mean, Warren Buffett does this all the time.
But isn't it illegal?
They will accumulate.
Yeah, but what if he sold it? That's the thing, right? Like he's put $3 billion in, it went up 600 million because the stock price went crazy when he announced that he was actually going to buy into Twitter. And after he makes 600 million. If he takes that out, is he in shit? Because that was after he tweeted. Stock price went fucking through the roof because he's got 80 million followers, right?
And the SEC would look into any sort of pump and dump that he might do if that was the case. I don't think that's what he did. I really think it's just that he sees Twitter as the future of communication, of media, of how people get their information. And he's very forward thinking. I mean, and he's very eccentric. I mean, think about the projects that he's taking on right now. This is someone who didn't just have success with PayPal and then went on with his life. Right. He risked it all on Tesla, and then he risked all of that on SpaceX. And then he said, we're going to drill holes in the ground and make underground roads. Like he's just always kind of thinking forward. And so I appreciate that aspect of it because think of the great things. I mean, if he just did one of those things, if he just started Tesla, or, he didn't technically start Tesla, he bought into the company and then everyone else kind of moved on and he took it to a new level. But if he just did one of those things, just Tesla or just SpaceX, I mean, that would be a great story in itself. We talk about Steve Jobs and how he created this great, and helped create Apple. Into what it is. Well, Elon is doing the Boring Company, where he's literally drilling holes underground in Los Angeles. He is sending people to Mars. We are going to Mars because of Elon, and the electric car future because of Elon. And so again, with all of the hate that he gets, and a lot of it is warranted. When he bashes Bitcoin, I get mad and say, wow, Elon's being a real douche today, but I also appreciate the things that he has contributed and continues to contribute to society in a way that I think ultimately, having an electric car, having a clean world, that's going to help the world down the road. An interplanetary species, a moon base, a Mars base, people that wouldn't have happened without Elon risking it all on SpaceX and saying, you know what, like I'm going to put my entire net worth towards this and let's hope it works out. And then it does. And guess what? He took all the risk. He gets all the reward.
It's interesting that he gravitated towards Twitter. I found that interesting because
he knows Facebook is fucked too. And Twitter, what does Twitter have, like 315 million daily users or something like that? I think it was like 315 million. It's one of the smaller platforms. Yeah, it is interesting. Very interesting.
Well, and I think it's one of the smaller platforms, but it is one of the more consistent platforms in the social media realm. Like Instagram is huge, and I get that. And Facebook is still, I don't know if Facebook's going away anytime soon, but you get these things that come and go, and they're flash in the pans, slap book or whatever, and TikTok or whatever it is now. I mean, they don't last long, right?
Snapchat and all that stuff.
The one thing,
I mean, he elevates Twitter. He uses it very well, and he gets a lot of attention. He tweets one thing, it's news.
There's
Wouldn't you want
100,000
more
likes
of
for
that?
saying hi everybody, LOL.
Wouldn't
Like
you
he
want
put that
more
on
of that?
100,000
You
likes.
know?
Yeah.
The one thing that I think is interesting is the freedom of speech, because he did sort of put that up as a flag stick, Scott, when he bought it. He was like, you know what, listen, I'm not happy with the fact that Twitter has, been what is it, Dean? And you and I don't agree on this.
No.
I like here.
I'll tell you. Hang
separate
on.
it.
I'll tell you why. Because if you go right back to the beginning, and this is what we were talking about yesterday, and I'm glad Scott's here. His Hot Wallet, his name is his podcast at Scott Trades. Follow him on Twitter. It's a great podcast. Oh, you got a little lady behind you there too, saying hi.
Who's that?
His daughter. Yeah, she's just popping
What's
in
her
to say
name?
hi. She's like,
What's
hi.
her name?
everybody.
Come on up, Em.
Come on up.
Now,
Em.
now she's shy.
Doesn't
Now
want to talk
she's
to you.
shy.
she was standing right there looking at me talking, and I'm like, nope, not now. I'm on with my friends.
No, we don't care. It's good to see her. But in the totality of how we try to fucking understand what he's doing, what you're suggesting is, hey, listen, this guy's just got $1 trillion and $3 billion was no big deal, and he's just having fun, but he sees something in that platform he doesn't see in others. Is that what
That's
you're
what
saying?
I mean, that's what I think. I think
Yeah.
he loves Twitter. He
wonder what
uses
that
it
is.
well. If
Yeah.
he can impact the company in some way, and I think they offered him a board seat, and then he, oh yeah, sure, I'll take a board seat. Oh yeah, the background, okay, yeah, that's not going to work out. All right, I'll turn down the board seat.
Do you want me to tell you what it was?
I would love
tell
to,
you?
but I think ultimately that's what I believe. I believe he uses the platform well. He sees the future. We all get our stuff from Twitter.
Yeah.
That's where everyone
I
gets it
think
from.
that's what it is.
Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post because he's an older guy who, he had his moment and he's done great things. But Elon sees things sometimes past other people. And so,
and I think Twitter delivers information uniquely to the other social media platforms, right? Like if you're in Facebook, it's just, I don't even know how people get information from Facebook. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, to me, Twitter has established themselves as the front runner of how to present news and information when you compare it to TikTok is videos, Instagram is pictures. I don't even know what Snapchat was. What the hell was that?
It's like videos, like little pictures and videos.
I don't
It's like,
even-
yeah, I don't
like,
even, I'm not on it either.
But Twitter
even
is
know what Facebook
news.
is.
Twitter is going to dominate the traditional news platforms.
Well, it's so
moving
fast,
forward.
right? Like if the reason why, and I'll
That's why
explain
he
this
did
to
it.
everybody, the reason why that we can be first to post when it comes to certain things, like take the convoy, for example. We were first to post for a ton of different stuff. And the reason why we were first to post is because we had trusted sources that were operating on a social media platform, because news has to vet and they go through this process and all this other shit. Our vetting process sucks. We just go, hey, do I trust that guy? Yeah, well, put that up. They don't do that, right? It's very fucking different. It's specifically with the way that mainstream media goes. But back to the background check. So this was the deal. Parag Agrawal, I believe, is the new CEO's name. He stepped. Jack Dorsey stepped down, and Jack Dorsey is now actually working with Elon Musk on solar power, which is fucking hilarious. It's so weird. But bottom line is, Parag announced today that, or I believe last night, that they do background checks on board members, and they did a background check. He alluded to it, and I'll just kind of put it up. You can kind of see it. Elon Musk has decided not to join our board. Here's what I can share about what happened. The board and I had discussions about Elon joining the board with Elon directly. We were excited to collaborate and clear about the risks. We also believe that having Elon as a fiduciary of the company, where he, like all board members, has to act in the best interest of the company and all our shareholders, was the best path forward. The board offered him a seat. We announced on Tuesday Elon would be appointed to the board contingent on a background check and formal acceptance. Elon's appointment to the board was to become officially effective 4/9, but Elon shared the same morning he will no longer be joining the board. I believe this is for our best. Now, real quick, there's a story that has been going around about Elon Musk in Germany going to a whole bunch of fetish sex clubs in a Zorro mask.
Well,
and
I would have made sure.
I did mention he's a little
too.
eccentric, right?
Shit happens. And he was actually tried to join one and was told he couldn't. Elon Musk reportedly explored Berlin sex clubs last week as he joined a fetish crowd in the German capital. Speculation has been circulating online. The Tesla Mobile was denied entry into the exclusive Berghain nightclub during the trip to Europe. And he also visited the Kit Kat Club. That is the Kit Kat Club. Here you go. It's renowned for its dress code. It allows partygoers to wear lingerie or latex. As you can see, they come thick over there. And this is another fuck room. The Kit Kat Club motto has "Do what you want, but stay in communication." Musk marked the opening of his new gigafactory
Does it
on the
involve a
outskirts.
Kit Kat on any level? Like, I'm just wondering.
Snack size? Yeah.
Yeah.
Snack size Kit Kat? About that big, actually.
Like, as soon as I
about that big.
saw the word Kit Kat, I immediately just assumed that you're putting a Kit Kat somewhere.
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought too. So he was there actually in Berlin to announce the opening of a new gigafactory. Clubgoers reportedly spotted him at the Kit Kat Club on Friday before he went into other venues. The Fetishist Club has strict dress codes. Partygoers wear latex. Kit Kat Club opened in 94. Motto is "Do what you want, but stay in communication." So
he couldn't go. He didn't bring his latex.
Okay, hold on.
He left it in the hotel.
There were several accounts. No one's allowed to have cameras in there, right? You check your phone in. I did a little research into Bahrain and the Kit Kat Club. No phones, no pictures, none of that stuff. You got to leave it in a box when you can bring a Kit Kat, snack size, of course, because it'll fit better. And of course, you can bring in O. Henry because that's just ribbed for everybody's pleasure, right? No, bottom line is that that's what they found apparently, and they found some weird sexual shit. As you know, he's been married several times. He's got like 100 kids. He's like, he just loves to get it. And I think they're like, I don't know if we can trust a guy that likes to spread the seed this much. Maybe we should fucking kind of just back off. And so my understanding is from different people in the industry, they had a conversation with him about some of his proclivities. He was like, I didn't want to join the board anyway. And therefore you get this note from the new Twitter CEO who's like, he's not going to join the board. No big deal. Everything's good.
You know what
right?
it sounds like? They're trying to get some power out of him. It sounds like it sounds like a conversation in the back room where it's like, oh, God damn it. He's 9.2% share. Yeah. What does that mean? Why is he doing this? Okay. I got an idea. Let's play nice, and then we'll screw him on the background check. But everybody in that room also amazing. Does stupid things with chocolate bars.
But here's the thing. It said Elon told us he won't be joining the board. So it wasn't like they said.
Of course he did, dude. You know how many you know how many exit letters on behalf of other people are written? Like, it was his decision. It was not his decision. Rod Black, he retired, TSN said. Rod's on this very show last week. He's like, I didn't retire. Same thing with poor Darren Millard. He's like, hey, right this. Well, it's all the same, man. It is all the same. And I have it on authority that is exactly what came up in his background check. And if you look at the timing of these stories, it's fucking unbelievable the way the world works. Look at the timing of these stories. He buys into Twitter. They're pissed off. The board's like, fuck, I can't believe this crazy wacko is in our company now. And they're like, what are you going to do? Go find some shit. And it's like,
and play nice.
In a Zorro mask.
Make it look like we were accommodating, and then we'll sewer him on the Kit Kat Club. But hold on, I can make this all go away. We can just end the conversation right now about whether or not he has any weird sex stuff. Show a picture, that last picture of him. Just pop
the last picture of him. What?
Yeah.
This one here?
Guy? Anybody who wears a scarf like that. End of story.
He wears that instead of a mask, I think. I think that's what it is.
Not enough.
I'd pay to see him in a Zorro mask with a boner. I'd pay for that picture. $10,000. If you have a picture of Elon Musk in sweatpants with a boner and a Zorro mask, I will give you 10,000 of my dollars.
You should find that picture of him eating a potato spiral. Have you seen that?
No.
It's like, and it's this huge. I'll try and find it and I'll DM it to you later tonight.
What do you mean, like a spiral fry?
The thing is, like everybody watching and listening, and everybody around the world, and those dicks on the Twitter board, they're all trying to. None of them want anybody to know what their fucking porn search is like.
Did you find it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You got to see this one.
It's unbelievable. What is this? What is he eating? It's a spiraled potato.
I don't see it yet.
Let's see it.
That's not up yet. I'm loading it.
Pop it out. Jeez. Yeah, he's at like a carnival. For those listening on audio, is that?
I know what. Yeah, I know what this is.
And people around him, you get carnival food, and so he's eating some carnival food, and it's like a spiral big. There it is. I mean, if we're gonna say, I wonder what it was, this to me is a little more clear than just the Zorro
on,
mask.
Elon, somebody help him with his hair. Get him a
When you
decent
have that many
haircut.
billions, people
yeah.
don't tell you what your haircut should look like. You
Yeah.
decide
Or
what it
how
looks
much of that 18 inches you want to shove down your throat either, I guess, right? I mean,
When we bought that,
wow.
when we bought that huge, because I'm not really a big dildo guy, but we bought this dildo for this contest.
I'm not a big dildo guy, Lachlan.
So I don't
props.
know a lot. I don't know a
Put
lot
that on a
about
pillow.
dildos.
I know. A new T-shirt.
Dude, that's our
New
new
swag.
T-shirt. Yeah, we've got the goat collection that just arrived at deepblendell.com. You can get your favorite. Go there right now. You can shop. Buy this Goudreau shirt. You can buy a McJesus shirt. You can buy yourself buy yourself a Matthews shirt. You can do it all, and you can also get a shirt from Lachlan Cross that just on the front says, "I'm not a big dildo guy," in quotes with his name. I'm not a big dildo guy.
But listen, we called this sex shop because we had this bet that whoever lost the bet, and no one can remember what the bet is now, but Jimmy lost it. They had to take a dildo on your carry-on to our trip to Vegas. So we, of course, phoned this sex shop, and she came down and she gave us a rundown on the dildos and what we could get. We settled for this huge black cock, and we put it in his duffel bag, and he had to take that to Vegas, and it ended up being his companion for the trip. But when she was down on the show, we were talking about the dildo, and I'm like, wow, do you really need something that big? Like, it was like 18 inches long. And she goes, yes, that's a good point. Thank you, Lachlan. It's 18 inches long, 20 with the balls, but it's only 14 inches insertable. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for the pre-instructions on the LART. Make sure you don't get more than 14 in you.
Whatever you do. Comes with 18.
Wow.
You only need 14.
And she also adds, you may need to work your way up to that.
Well, you got to start at the Kit Kat, obviously.
Yeah. Which
Then
makes
you're
me
moving
think. Makes me think. He didn't work his way up to this. That's the thing. Started thinking Elon didn't work his way. But isn't that fucking fascinating? It's everybody's thing, right? I wonder what Twitter has on him. Like, that's what I was thinking about today. I'm like,
that's probably nothing.
Background checks, sex
curious.
Clubs. They probably showed him a picture.
Who
of
hasn't
him,
taken a chocolate bar into the bedroom and thought,
what can I do? Him in a Zorro mask with like chocolate all over his face, and they're like, "Hey, man, do you want this to go public?" He's like, "No longer on the board. Have a great day." Hey, man, we got a picture of you wearing a strap-on backwards, and you got chocolate on your face, and you're wearing a Zorro mask, and you have a scabbard.
It's not me.
And he's like, "I think I'm going to buy Facebook."
You know, that Snap Twit sounds pretty good.
Snap Twit. Let's go Snap Twit. Yeah, no problem. You guys can have my shares. Take the $3 billion. I don't care.
That's so funny.
Dude, I got to ask you a question. You did This Week in Crypto. Scott, Hot Wallet Podcast. Scott Trades at Scott Trades on Twitter.
My crypto's dying on me, Scott. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Buddy?
First of all,
whatever you're dying at, I'm dying at 10 times more. So whatever you're down, just multiply that by 10.
What happened? Because This Week in Crypto, not a good week in crypto. Talk to me.
It's definitely been a rough week. You know, we're just coming off of the Bitcoin conference, which was in Miami last week, and we did get some big announcements that I talk about in the This Week in Bitcoin
I got
segment.
I got him here. Jack Mallers, CEO of Strike, make a big announcement. Bitcoin. It's going to be legal tender in El Salvador. Jack announced Shopify's integrated Strike in the Bitcoin Lightning Network. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. So what Jack Mallers and Strike are doing is essentially what in the United States, they've teamed up with some point of sale operators where essentially you can go into any major retailer, McDonald's, Macy's, Starbucks, and you can pay with Bitcoin. So I can go and pay with Bitcoin, and the retailer can either take it as Bitcoin or take it as US dollars, whatever they want. And so that was the big announcement coming out of the conference this year. And last year, Jack announced the El Salvador thing. And so he is really kind of someone who is making things happen for the Bitcoin community. And honestly, I think they're going to make a movie about this guy one day, because he is really just really brilliant in terms of how he thinks about people using Bitcoin as as a way to pay money, as a way to remit money to different countries, send money between people, et cetera, et cetera. So definitely check out This Week in Bitcoin and to kind of get more on that. But I do want to rebuke some things that you had a guy on your podcast last week. And I don't want to say
white supremacy coin.
That
guy?
I mean, so yes, yeah. I don't want to say his name. Seemed like a really smart guy. And so I'm not going to bash him personally at all. I thought, it's fine. I don't care. But I did look up some of his points because I care about that stuff. And so I did look up some of the aspects, him saying anyone who uses crypto is a white supremacist. And, I think he called you an agent or something like that.
He did call me an agent because I have $1,000 in crypto.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, okay, sure. And so I did look up some of the history, and it's true that there are some people who started in the technology in 2013, 2012, got into Bitcoin and started buying Bitcoin and then kind of used it. But it's also true that Bitcoin was used on a website called the Silk Road, and people would buy drugs with it and stuff like that. And so, my kind of comment back to this person would just be like, criminals are going to do criminal things. If you're a bad guy, you're going to do bad guy things, and you're going to use whatever technology is out there to enable you to do these bad guy things. And so what has happened with a lot of these people is a lot of them are out of Bitcoin. They're out of the network. They're out of the kind of community. There are some people who still have a bunch of Bitcoin and, and they're selling it, and, okay, it's legal for them to do that, but it's not illegal for them to have an opinion that other people don't agree with.
Yeah, but the people that started it, which is what he was saying, the people that started Bitcoin started it with nefarious reasons for starting Bitcoin.
Yeah, he made that kind of.
It's like super racist, white supremacist honkies that were using it to shift money between other racially inequitable empires. Like it's
right.
Not bad.
Yeah, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure that's not true.
Yeah.
Bitcoin was just one of many forms of digital cash that they were trying to create. And they're trying to create one called DigiCash or DigiGold. And, these big companies would pour money into that. And what happened was, like, Microsoft would buy DigiCash and then try and figure it out. And then they didn't do anything with it. And what they found was the centralization of these organizations, where one company is in charge of the money or one person is in charge of the money, is the problem. And so that's why Bitcoin is so great, because it's decentralized. There's no one person or one miner group that controls the network. It's decentralized. It's a public network.
Right.
And so, like I said, criminals are going to do criminal things. Bill Cosby, bad guy. But I bet Bill Cosby had email. Does that mean that I'm a pedophile, or I drug women? Yeah, exactly. So I think it's a little easy to blame the technology and to try and put these half truths together, because we see that on the right hand side of the aisle. We see half truths, and then you just have to connect the dots for yourself. I have no evidence to suggest that Peter Thiel punches babies, but he has arms and knows how to make a fist. So you connect the rest of the dots, and I'm just like, excuse me? I don't think that's, think that's how it works.
But, it's funny because you go through the convoy stuff, and a quick aside, we're adding actually a blogger to DeanBlundell.com who is no better way to say it. He believes in transparency along with the group that he does work with. You may have heard them, Anonymous. He believes, I believe, largely kind of what you're talking about is, there are a lot of bad people involved in tech that's, very private, right? Or that is hard to follow. I mean, it just attracts those people. And maybe they came up with it in that way. But much like Volkswagen was created by Hitler, it is not a Nazi brand, right? You know what I'm saying?
To Scott's point, I mean, it's a new way of paying people. It's a new form of currency. You think it's going to be null and void of criminal activity? Absolutely not. Do you think the banking system, which is supposed to be a null and void of criminal activity, do you think the bankers aren't criminals? Come on.
Well, that's just it. And you see all these banks, and they have a budget for paying fines. At every bank, there's a oh, we got to pay 200 million this year, but we made $1 billion. So it's the cost of doing business. And so again, I just feel like it was wrong to blame the technology and anyone who uses the technology now, and also saying, well, it's controlled by China. Well, China banned mining. You know why? Because they want control of the money, and so it doesn't make sense for them to have.
They don't want the decentralized thing. They don't believe in a unified world digital currency.
No,
not at all.
Exactly. And so again, I looked up some of the points that he was making because I want to know for myself if that's true. And my conclusion was just that maybe that's how some things started. Some things started out with criminal intent, but now you look at it and there are major corporations, major players, major institutions involved in the crypto space. And while there are still a ton of scams that everyone needs to protect themselves with, I think if you align yourself with a project like Bitcoin, I don't think that you then are an agent of the criminal mastermind or whatever it is. I just thought some of it was
You're
a little
not a KKK member if you
exactly.
Hey, you mentioned a point of purchase company, Shopify, getting into Bitcoin. Is Square at all? Have you seen any news about them moving towards the Bitcoin? I know, because
so Square is now called Block, and they do as Dean mentioned, they are teaming up with Tesla, and they just broke ground on a Bitcoin mining farm, and in the US they have the Cash App. And so we don't have that in Canada, but essentially it's similar to PayPal in a way, or kind of like WhatsApp for money. So, hey, Locke, you need $20. Okay, what's your cash tag? I'll put it in, and $20 will go from my account to your account really quick.
And that's all Bitcoin or cryptocurrency related.
Well, no, they allow you to buy Bitcoin, but you can just send normal cash. Doesn't have to be crypto. It can be normal fiat
exchange.
Yeah,
it's an exchange, right? That's what the Cash App is. It's just this little exchange. And the Jack Dorsey thing is interesting because you were talking about it. You just mentioned it. Is the data mining? Like he's opening up a data mining facility. Just broke ground.
Bitcoin mining, not data mining.
Bitcoin mining, not data mining. My bad.
I don't even want to go down that.
Yeah, I mean,
mine it.
It's the same guys. Right? It's the same guys that it's the PayPal mafia. It's the same guys, like all the super geniuses. They just pivot to something else and make $1 billion. It's fucking frustrating to watch.
Well, the interesting thing about Jack Dorsey and Elon Musk having a friendship or a relationship is, and that Elon's getting into the Twitter world, is I think Jack Dorsey, who kind of got forced out based on his views of maintaining Twitter and trying to keep the structure that he had built as far as the integrity of information and things like that. And he got kind of pushed out by this woke crowd. And now that he's friends with Elon Musk, I did not know that. That makes sense that Musk is trying to shoehorn his way into Twitter because they are aligned similarly on their viewpoints about how Twitter has handled the disinformation world and this overly woke sort of reaction to and that's the thing that I sort of wanted to push back on. We haven't had time to get into it on the podcast, but you've kind of mentioned, Dean, that listen, they have their rules and regs. If you don't like it, get off. But they've kind of manipulated those rules and regs.
Oh, they fucked
to their own degree. Huge. And they have censored people. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have censored Trump, but I'm saying there's a question mark, in my opinion, about some of the rules and some of the language that they use to restrict people from using Twitter and not restrict people from using Twitter. It's subjective.
Totally.
And again,
and highly dependent on the atmosphere. No, I agree with you. Highly dependent on the atmosphere, political atmosphere, economic atmosphere, highly dependent on who's being bothered by it, or the relationships at Twitter being bothered. Is their financial bottom line being bothered? I mean, they make decisions based on those things, but in the terms of service, and I go back, it is bullshit, but it's not. Like in the terms of service, if someone comes up to me, and I had this conversation with someone yesterday who'd been fired from a radio gig, back to radio. And they're like, I worked hard. I did everything I was supposed to do. I had great ratings. I was great in the hallway. And I always thought that those things would compute to me legitimately having a job for life in this industry that I love. No, And what people don't understand is the second you sign up for something that you do not control, you are a victim to whatever the process is that control issue takes place in your life. Absolutely the truth. That is one of the greatest truths in the world. And it's a philosophical truth. It's not like a tech truth, right? So when you go and you sign up for anything, whether it's a job, whether it's a Twitter account, whether it's Facebook, and you sign that box that says, okay, if anything happens, you're the one that's going to pay the price. Yep, because I want this. So I'm going to do that. Right? I'm going to sign up. You sign up for Twitter, terms of service. Hey, listen, we can remove your account anytime we want for anything we want. You sign that fucking box. If you didn't read it and you lose your account because you did something untoward, or you don't think it was untoward, or for some reason you think you read the fucking terms freedom of speech in the terms of service, you're just a fucking idiot who doesn't like the way the world works, and you want to change it, and Elon Musk has the money to do it, right?
And that's why I agree with you. But I don't disagree with it, a guy like Elon Musk trying to shoehorn or wedge his way into the company to influence change in that regard. And it's not because I think, listen, people know how I feel about Trump. I thought the guy was a tool, still is a tool. I think he's a damaging, like he did more damage than we'll even know about. But I also thought it was a massive mistake to limit his access to social media platforms. And the reason being is because all it did was inflame his side. All you did is just you handed all the power over.
Gave him a reason, right? To give him a reason to fucking rage, give him like an excuse to say that that's not happening. But it was laughing my ass this morning. Have you read anything about Truth Social, Donald Trump's new social media thing? Have you guys read anything about this?
No.
Fucking
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Oh, dude,
lights out at the beginning, but it's kind of dying off.
No, not even lights out at the beginning. There's no one on it. And Devin Nunes, who quit politics to take over this Truth Social network, was stumping around news the other day, and he's like, "Twitter's a ghost town. They have billions of interactions on a daily basis. You know how at Trumpland? 5,000. It is the 128th ranked social media platform in every app store collectively." Yeah. To the point where they've sunk millions into this, and it is going to fold in the next 2-3 weeks because it's all bullshit. It's all fugazi. It's just fucking stupid bullshit where they're using it not because they want to be social, not because they want to communicate, but it's just another propagandized tool, right? Yeah. That's all it is. And everything that guy put out was propaganda. Twitter doesn't have, and social media doesn't have a freedom of speech problem. What they have is a communication issue, right? They've told people this is where you have to be, that you could say anything you like. It's better than the real world, and it ain't. It ain't. It's exactly, in fact, it's more punitive than the real world. YouTube, case in point. We had a lady on about 6-8 months ago to talk about her craziness because she thought she was a dietitian. She thought she could feed kids enough vitamin C, arugula, and wheat germ that they would not get COVID. And we're like, no, you stupid idiot. That is, you need a vaccine. You got to have a vaccine. And that's the only thing that's going to mitigate any damage. It's not food. You can't eat, like, go ahead, eat 12 pounds of celery, you dumb idiot. Like, just fuck it, it's not going to work. And we had her, and we were shitting all over her craziness. And YouTube actually pulled our account for a week. And that's how we make money. And we were advocating for the right things, but for some reason, algorithmically some asshole, it didn't matter. But I didn't get mad. Do you know why I didn't get mad? And I never get mad when they pull our shit, ever, because we signed up for their platforms. And I've read the terms of service because it's important that I understand from a content perspective what I can and can't do, how I operate. The people that get pissed off about the freedom of speech shit, and I want you to listen to me very carefully, the people that get pissed off about the freedom of speech stuff are people that do not like the way the world works and they want to change it.
And they're railing against it.
And they're railing against it, as opposed to, we go back to this all the time, as opposed to making that existence the best possible existence you could make, right? Now, this is where Elon Musk's trickery comes in handy.
They're victims, and they think the whole world is against them.
Doesn't matter what it is. Could be social media. Do you remember the Facebook chick? You remember her? Convoy Facebook chick?
Oh, yes.
Do you remember her? This, and again, it's
she needs a dentist.
Yeah, I was going to say, the lady missing teeth. They blocked me from my Facebook.
Yeah, she's my favorite. She's my favorite.
Play the video now.
This was this, and it's these people. The amazing part about Elon Musk having $283 billion is that he has that money. He's not that stupid. Some would say he is. He's just really bright when it comes to futurism or whatever it is. But the people that get angry that Facebook canceled their account, the people get pissed off that they get a 12-hour suspension on Twitter, the people that get crazy because they can't believe that a private company would tell them what they can and can't say. Imagine this. Imagine you go into somebody's house, okay? Imagine that. You go into that house and they're like, take your shoes off. And you're like, no. Freedom of me. Right? Imagine that. And they say, no, you got to take your shoes off or you have to leave. And not leaving. And when they get out of the house, they write letters and they campaign and they get angry and they get pissed off and they tell you that this is not the way the world is supposed to work.
Trump, dude. That's exactly why I was against it. Because I saw this countless times where people for some reason think that I'm going to share some information on my radio show that tells everybody the truth about how the world is actually working. It doesn't even matter. Pick a topic, pick a conspiracy, and you name it. So they're going to send me a video on Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And there was a couple of times, and this happened more than once. I can't even count how many times where because there was a period of time where I was actually trying to educate people, and I would look up whether or not that theory was debunked, and then I would send them the link. Okay. The response I got back from those people when, one, check this out, this proves so-and-so, lock. And I would go, that's already been blocked because of misinformation. And they would respond back, yeah, the truth usually does. The fact that they were blocked, stories were being pulled from their social media, that didn't mean that they were spreading misinformation. It meant that they were spreading the truth. This girl that we're talking about, the one with the horrible teeth that was on her way to Ottawa because she was pissed off, she got so mad that Facebook blocked her probably for 24 hours that she packed her and the cats up, got in the Jeep, and headed to Ontario.
Can we watch it again?
I'm ready.
I'm going to be here as long as it takes. As long as these truckers are going to be here, I'm going to be here. Because why? Because I think we should live free like we always have. Kicked off Facebook, blocked, not allowed to post any of this live, nothing else. That's why I'm here. They shouldn't have turned my Facebook off. Now I'm angry.
Wow. See,
April.
That's why it doesn't work.
They don't know how to react.
They're
just mad. And that's the thing. Man, I talked about this last time. It's a big mental health crisis that we're all going through right now. Everyone is mad about the last 2 years.
Wait a second. Wait.
They don't know how to react.
Are you telling me this woman's mentally unwell?
I'm going to be here as long as it takes. As long as these truckers are going to be here, I'm going to be here. Because why? Because I think we should live free like we always have. Kicked off Facebook, blocked, not allowed to post any of this live, nothing else. That's why I'm here. They shouldn't have turned my Facebook off. Now I'm angry.
She's also angry.
Her camouflage is so good, I can only hear her.
I can see her. Where is she? Can't see. You can't see me. I'm wearing camouflage. Can't see me. Can't see me.
So that's what I think. I think it's just a big mental health crisis that we're all still trying to figure out. And
that's
for better or worse,
though, Scott.
I know. Well, I know it is, but
I don't think COVID pushed her over the edge. I think COVID just kept her in her canoe.
Oh,
I think huffing paint pushed her over the edge.
Bell really helped.
Yeah, I think drinking Aquavelva pushed her over the edge. That's what I think.
Let's not judge.
I think huffing Lysol maybe pushed her over the edge. Probably. Yeah, and her teeth look great. Probably no meth there at all.
Not
at all.
Because I think we should live free.
Look at those chiclets. Look at those things. I think we should live free like we always have. You've never lived free, lady. You're subject to the rules and regulations of this entire country. That's how the countries work. That's how Twitter works. I'm glad we had this discussion today.
Yeah, me too. And don't get me wrong. I do agree with Locke in a way. I don't miss Donald Trump's tweets at all. At all. But I do recognize that the hate towards him still not being there and all of this money and all this energy that's being wasted to try and launch this other thing, which I believe will ultimately fail as well. But I believe that there should be a punishment of some kind. Okay, you caused a crime or something, or we're still trying to figure out what happened. then okay, you know, you have a time limit on, you know, you can't access the platform for that time being. But you know,
The
I think
problem with
I think
Trump,
if a blanket ban is hard because then it just becomes subjective. Like Pinterest recently, I read this recently. Pinterest blocked climate change misinformation on Pinterest. Well, I don't go to Pinterest for my climate change information anyways, so it doesn't matter.
No, you go there for throw pillows.
yeah, exactly. But here they are making a corporate decision. We are not going to allow this on our platform.
Yeah.
And so where does it end? If it's not that, maybe it's something that I agree with. Maybe it's a Bitcoin thing. We see that all the time with YouTube where they'll block Bitcoin channels. And so, you know, I do agree with
Do they
Dean.
really? I didn't know YouTube blocked Bitcoin channels.
Yeah.
That's
They
fucking
blocked the
wild.
Bitcoin conference this week for a couple of hours. You know, no reason why. And so again, when it becomes subjective, that's when I have a problem. But if it falls within the terms and service, then okay,
Scott,
I get it.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. And I think that's what people are railing against. Unfortunately, we have the figureheads of that free speech movement are Joe Rogan and Don Cherry and Elon Musk. You know what I mean? So it gets lost in that conversation as well.
But aren't they? Let me ask you guys this: don't people? Because this is how I interpret that cry for help, right? Which is like freedom. We want our freedom.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's them saying we want to be free from the daily obligation that everybody else feels like they have to each other. And Joe Rogan leads that charge on a daily basis, right? And listen, I don't listen to Joe Rogan. I watch Joe Rogan. I only catch Joe Rogan out of context, which is why I don't go after the guy. He's been incredibly successful. I disagree with everything that gets published on social media that he says by and large, because those are the only things that people go after him at. But like yesterday, he's like, Nancy Pelosi's committing treason. I'm like, I don't even give a fuck about American politics anymore. So who cares? Like everybody's going crazy about that with Joe Rogan. And they take this preventative approach, right? Like that's the way society is. We think, and Trudeau's the fucking worst at it, is he wants to prevent bad things from happening. You cannot do that. You have to allow bad things to happen because those bad things will make us better as a society. And then people collectively go and decide. It fucking is. You collectively go and decide as a culture what is right and what is wrong, what is the truth and what isn't. Whereas when you're blocking people from using social media, there's this massive ammunition dump for all those fucking losers who are like, see, you're preventing the truth again. Then they pass it off as truth. And then someone who's like, yeah, that's not the truth is like, well, maybe it is. Maybe they are blocking the truth. And all of a sudden it becomes a movement. And that movement is why we sit here and talk about it, right? That movement is why Elon Musk is like, hey, I'm going to dump $3 billion into this thing because I want to fuck shit up. Well, I want everything to be as transparent as possible. Yes,
it's the unintended consequence of this preventative sort of mindset that a lot of these people have. And what ends up happening is it ekes its way right through everything from these huge discussions that we're having about free speech on social media down to your day-to-day decisions that are being made by your local politicians, right? They're slowing down traffic. Oh, we have a problem with speeders on that street. All right, let's make it 50. No, let's make it 40. No, let's make it 30. Then you got so many fucking people angry. They're speeding through sections of town to avoid the unintended consequences, causing accidents, right? And causing frustration. And instead of just sitting back and going, why don't we figure out what the best speed limit is for the flow of the city and let people drive their fucking cars that can drive 120 kilometers an hour relatively safely, that have mechanisms in place electronically to stop you from going from one side to the next or bumping into people. Why don't we just let people fucking flow with the traffic? Nope, we got to lower the speed limit. Well, these people fucking cause more problems than they know by trying to be the fucking saviors all the time. Stop it.
I know. And that's the biggest problem that we have, if you ask me, is that we have, and history's full of them. Like if you understand political history, if you understand like civilized history of how different organizations and civilizations became civilizations, Roman civilization, the Ottoman Empire, they all had assholes. Every fucking group has them. We have them. The United States has them. Just people that generally don't like the way that anything's done. Cave people, my dad calls them. Citizens against virtually
podcast.
everything. Yes, you. And not so much him, but me. And those are the preventative people, right? And so what happens is anytime an asshole, and we live in this transparent society where we can see people's thoughts, we can read subconsciousness through Twitter feeds, we can feel the fucking energy of society through social media. We do. We see the way that things work. We watch people get canceled. We watch outrage, and outrage plays and pays, and that's how fucking people live now, right? So when we think about how this whole machine works, we look at a different time. We look at more transparency. Those assholes are definitely going to be louder. And then all of a sudden, we've got a culture issue, right? The culture issue that I see when we sit and talk about what people are allowed to say and what they're not is, hold it. We have forgotten what's right or wrong. Now they're using social media to say, no. Wrong is just an alternative opinion, right? So what do you do with that? Because when they say you should be eating ivermectin by the tube, and COVID isn't real, and people start dying, that is not an alternative opinion. That is a lie. That hurts individuals and hurts people and hurts human beings. So what do you do? I mean, it's like catch-22 for me as I look at it now. I think that I think there has to be regulation in that space, but I don't think it's the kind of regulation where it's like it's woke or it's not. It's you can massive freedom of speech or it's not. There's got to be a way to do it. And to that point, Twitter the other day did something that I found fascinating. You can take yourself off lists. You can actually remove your tag, your name from certain conversations now, right? And if you followed us through the convoy, we got tagged in lists. We got hammered by special interest groups. We got hammered by the Catholic Church. We got hammered by Jesus and all his fucking loser followers. We got hammered by Russians. We got hammered by Diagolon. We got hammered by the PPC and the conservatives. We got absolutely fucking hammered by those people because we were exposing their lies and we were telling people that they're full of shit. Don't believe anything they're saying. And so that's how this works, right? Like if that back then I could go and remove myself from those conversations, I would have saved myself several visits from the police where they're like, hey, your life's in danger. All right. Or, you know, so like there's real life applications to some of the uses that we can put into making it a safer space, but we cannot rely, to your point, Locke, about the speed limits and everybody just kind of finding flow. We don't live in a time where normal people can figure that out. We live in the dumbest time, the laziest time, and those people are
still
too
not
stupid to
still
fucking
not
get it.
a reason to over analyze stuff and overprotect a society, because now you're dealing with the pushback from a certain sector, and then what ends up being that sector becomes dangerous. Scott, you don't have to go, do you?
No, I'm cool.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure that we're not eating up too much of your time. The ivermectin thing, I just want to weigh in that quickly. That was an interesting one because
tastes great on a wheat then?
Triscuit is how I took it. No, listen, here's the thing about the ivermectin conversation. The fact that they banned it from or any conversation about it, it took on a life of its own. Okay. And it all of a sudden became this miracle cure that the pharmaceutical companies and government officials didn't want you to know about because they wanted you to take the evil vaccine. And I don't know if they should have just, you know what I would have done with that? I would have just said, hey, you fucking monkeys, you want to take it? Fucking go ahead. Phone all the fucking vet stores and go, give it to these fucking losers.
Yeah.
Just let them have it. Because all it did is become, it took on a life of its own.
Yeah, because we were making fun of them, the government that
the fucking people that were promoting it weren't taking it.
No.
Because everybody that phoned me, every time I made some crack about ivermectin on the fucking locker room, I'd have some guy legitimately, I swear to God, every fucking time would legitimately call up and go, why are you bashing it? Are you just afraid of a real cure? And I'm going, are you taking it, Terry? Are you fucking taking it? No, but I got a friend, buddies who's dead. He takes it. He's been eating it for years. I'm like, get him to call me.
Yeah. No,
get him to call me. Not one person that I spoke to that was calling me out on the ivermectin bullshit would admitted to taking it or could provide evidence of anybody actually taking it. This thing lived online. Do you guys know anybody that knew anybody that took fucking ivermectin? No.
I do, yeah.
I know 2 people.
Are you serious?
Oh,
yeah, that's serious.
And they were taking it daily as a preventative measure against
that.
COVID.
I don't know. I know that I have an immediate family member that was taking it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah,
And-
but let me tell you about some of them family chats. Let me tell you how some of those went. Can you believe it? She did? No, I can't believe it.
But do you understand what
Do you
I'm
wanna-
saying?
Yeah, because
They
we'll
were
hold it.
blocking the information from
that's
being
the-
shared, and all
Yeah.
they did is they just created this persona
Totally.
around this thing as a miracle drug.
Totally,
These people
but-
didn't believe that it didn't work. All they
No.
believed was, oh, they're hiding the truth from me. I got to get my
totally.
hands on some fucking ivermectin.
Yeah. No, I
If
agree with
anything-
you, Locke.
If anything was prevented, they wanted it more, right? Like
Yeah.
that was the thing. It was like magic dirt. They're like, oh, they're not allowed to sell magic dirt. That means it must work. Let's buy it.
snort
Ivermectin,
it.
taking it off the pills. And I agree with you. Sorry, Scott. I want to get to you in 1 second, but I agree with you, Locke. I was of the opinion when everybody started eating horse dewormer to get rid of a chest infection. I was under the impression. I'm like, oh fuck, don't stop these people from buying it. Like fucking let them buy all of it. Put it in soups. Make a mousse out of it. Like fucking make it as tantalizing for these people as fucking possible. And then what they'll do
Ivermectin
is they'll
barbecues.
learn from that. Ivermectin barbecue, ketchup, mustard, ivermectin, right on the old hot dog. Absolutely. I was of the firm opinion we should do that. And I still believe we should do that with social media too. Scott, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. I'm agreeing with you guys completely. I think we let the free market decide. If a grown up wants to, buy booze and get a gun and go drive around, they're fully legal to do that. But you can't take this thing. Let them take the thing if that's what they want to do. We'll allow them. Hey, you want the vaccine? Vaccine's right here. We're all in line for the vaccine. Oh, you want that other thing? Cool. Well, if you want the vaccine, right over here. You're a grown up. You know what to do. That's how I think it should have been handled.
Like people can make all their own shitty decisions themselves. That's what I thought. That's where I thought we were at as a society. Yeah.
If they, if something happens, Locke, what if they died? If they die, they die. Okay. Or if they get sick and okay, then they'll know. Okay, well, maybe this isn't working for me because who knows? Our body chemistry is still a mystery. Some things that work for me won't work for Locke. Some things that work for Locke don't work for Dean.
I saw somebody posted some information about ivermectin and what it did to their bodies, and they were talking about having the runs. And the severe diarrhea for like 2 weeks since I've been taking it. And am I doing it right? And so there was this long discussion on this Facebook thread about ivermectin, and it was like all about dosage and everything like that. You're taking a veterinarian drug and you're wondering why you're shitting blood? You fucking moron.
Let the free market decide.
Let
who
the free
gets
market
the
decide
poops.
who lives and who dies. That's how I feel about this whole thing now. Like I was going through some of this. I don't know if you guys saw some of the Twitter shit with the Ford government, but it came out. Toronto Star actually wrote a fucking incredible piece on Doug Ford and how he allotted those rapid tests. Have you guys seen some of this stuff? Letting the free market decide. This is it. Private schools got more tests than paramedics, daycare, shelters, and jails combined.
Wow. Oof. Wow.
Private schools got 175,000 rapid tests. Shelters, 31. Paramedics, all of them in the province of
pandering
Ontario.
to the religious right.
69
all those private
jails,
schools are all Catholics.
15
That's crazy.
child care. So our sickest, our most vulnerable, and the most marginalized didn't get as many rapid tests from the government for free as private schools that cost $60,000 a year to go to.
By the way,
Mike's was one of them.
I've seen
St. Andrews was
three
another.
versions
Canada
of this
College
same
was
graph.
another. Yeah.
This isn't something that we made up. Like I've seen three different versions of that. This is well documented that's what happened.
Yeah. I mean,
they politicized the fucking pandemic.
Yeah, big time. But
Totally,
like that's
private
the
schools,
other
Catholic
but
religion.
that's the other
give it
side
to
of this,
them.
right? You know, you got all those people out there sweating it out. All those idiots in public school, all the cheap, poor people in public school trying to fucking make it work. Some of them are taking ivermectin. Everybody's confused. People got the shits. Kids are dying. Adults are dying.
Yeah.
And what does Doug Ford do? As Doug Ford does, because he's a fucking lying criminal piece of shit, the Premier of Ontario, he made sure his rich developer friends' kids that were going to Upper Canada College got private tests so that they could go to that Bora Bora vacation when everybody else was home with fucking tubes in their chest. That is one of the major fucking fuck yous. Like one of the worst I've ever seen.
I'd be interested to know what Jason Kenney did.
What's that?
Sorry to cut you off. No, I'd be interested to know what Jason Kenney did, Locke, because I know that he's trying to move towards more private schools as well, more charter schools.
Yeah, I don't know. I just the whole thing just makes me sick. This makes me sick to my stomach.
This is after we get all the shit. Like, this is after we got vaccinated. We did all the stuff and we locked down and stuff. And under the table, Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, is hustling rapid test kits away from marginalized sick people over to parents of children who go to private school at St. Andrew's College for $80K a year.
Happy Monday, everybody.
Yeah, fuck. I mean, unbelievable. And I will say this, because I put
my
this
hatred,
out.
My hatred for religion, my hatred for politics has never. You
don't want to live in that world, do you?
It is so.
Yeah, but you don't want to live in a world where the premier of a province helps all of his friends' schools and benefactor schools, where he lets all the other public school students die.
Have no idea.
Suck on that today.
It started when I was 15 years old or 16. I showed up at a school dance drunk with a bunch of kids from this party that we went to. And there was like 12 of us that all got hauled into the office during the school dance, and we were all caught for drinking at a school event. And me and one other loser got suspended for 2 weeks. Everybody else had a teacher for a parent, somebody on the school board. Dad owned a car dealership. Mom was a doctor. Dad was a lawyer. Everybody else got off. And I just remember that being one of the more valuable lessons in my life. I was a teenager and I just went, you know what? The world works that way. And you're going to need to navigate that, Locke. And you're going to need to find a way not to be so angry about it that you do something irrational and end up in jail for the rest of your life. But I'm still at a point of trying to decide whether or not I want to live in the world that we live in or do something irrational and spend the rest of my days in jail when I hear a story like that, because it fucking pisses me off to no end. I swear to God, this is a message for all people of all religions and all political parties. It doesn't matter what party or what religion. Do not come to my fucking house. I swear to God, you're going to be in a police. It's going to be a police situation.
It's going to be an attraction.
Stay off, or God help you. You get my wife at the door first, because if I hear her talking to somebody, I'm going to run upstairs and tackle them.
I had someone knock on my door the other day, and they stood like 15 feet away. Conservative. Hey, would you consider voting for Paul Calandra? I'm like, nope. And I just shut the door. That was it. I'm like, I don't even entertain it. It's not even. Hi there. Can we get? Nope. Would you consider voting? No. Thanks. Boom. And I went upstairs and I made pasta because I got on with my life. That's how you have to live now. Lock across. Yeah.
Locke, do you still have that giant 18-incher? You just put that outside the front door.
You know what happened? You know what happened is apparently you have to store them properly. That's another thing I learned about dildos. Mm-hmm. They disintegrate. Like, it got a bunch of, it kind of melted on us, which is unfortunate because we were using it
because it was big. Yeah, I bet you were. Yeah,
huge. Yeah, it had a suction cup thing right underneath the balls. So you could lick the back end of it, and you could, so it would hang off. Like, we hung it. We made Jimmy take it to Vegas, and then we broke into his room, and we took it out of the duffel bag and we put it in his shower. But he's only 4 feet tall, so we put it high enough so he couldn't get it. So for 3 days in Vegas, he had this big black dildo hanging just below
couldn't
his
reach it.
shower spout, and he couldn't get off.
Anyway, dude, thanks for doing this. That is Lachlan Cross, 95.7 Cruise FM in Edmonton, at Lachlan Cross on Twitter. That is my friend Scott Trades. Scotty is available on Twitter. He does all
Dean and I
kinds
are
of
friends,
financial education. Yes, we are. Financial education. And go and check out This Week in Crypto. Follow him on Twitter. That's where you'll find all of his stuff, at Scott Trades. Who do you have on the show this week?
Actually, I don't have anyone this week because we are
going to
we're getting
Hawaii.
ready
Oh, that's
for
right.
Hawaii.
Fuck.
Come on,
So-
Dean.
But at the end of the month, I do have a great macro financial analyst. His name is Darius Dale, and I am really excited. So I do have some interviews booked for the end of April. Probably get those coming out in May. So lots going on. And then, of course, check out the website that I'm a part of with Dan Fitzpatrick. It's www.stockmarketmentor.com. You can take a trial if you want to get into trading, want to figure it out. Just come watch some tutorials and see if it's for you. And then we got crypto. We're doing a crypto product very soon. So lots going on. So Dean,
I'm into the crypto product. What are you,
I really
I'm in.
appreciate being able to come on, hanging out with you guys and talking stocks and crypto. Anytime you guys need me, I'll try and
Dude,
be
it's
here
awesome
for you.
having you here. It's like fucking,
love
it's
your
like a
work.
life hack having a guy like you that can explain crypto and the people that are fucking around with it and what it's used for. And always great to talk to you. You're very entertaining. Really appreciate it. Go and download his podcast. You want to fight for time if you're interested in how to fucking do finances right. If you're interested in kind of taking your money and making it work for you, Scott is tremendous. One of the greatest communicators I've ever met, and he's entertaining and he's fun and he'll take care of your shit too. So he teaches people how to do this. He's not
Horrible
going to
radio
invest your
programmer.
stuff. Terrible radio
trader.
programmer. Great day trader.
The killers were in high rotation when I was in charge.
Fuck, no wonder you're out of work.
But thanks, guys. Really appreciate you both being here. Scotty, Locke, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot.
See ya.
Take care. There you go. Scotty and Lachlan Cross, ladies and gentlemen. On this very program, a lot of fucking social media talk today, wasn't it? But it ties into like life, right? I guess it does. Ties into how you do shit. Ties into how you look at life. Anyway, thank you. Appreciate you being here. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter at deanblundell.com. You can also find us there and everything we do, including Scott Trades and all of our podcast partners. Thanks to Matt Cundill from Sound Off Media for joining us, our podcast branding building partner. If you're looking to start a podcast, you're interested in one, if you are professional grade, interested in getting to that next level and trying to generate some revenue, that is what we do. You can always hit us up at info@deanblundell.com, and you can also hit up Matt, Sound Off Media. It's super easy to find him. Just Google it. Or again, hit us up at info@deanblundell.com. There you are. Have a great day, everybody. Really appreciate it. Thanks to our friends at Easy Auto Financial for making this possible. Easy Auto Financial, helping you get in the game when you need financing for a car and you can't find it. You don't want to have to pay through the nose for it. They don't care about your credit rating. All of it's turnkey. EasyAutoFinancial.ca. No obligation. Check them out. Canadian company. Excellent group. They will help you buy a car no matter what your credit rating looks like. Also, thanks to our friends at Domination, helping us dominate with content. It's AI for people that produce promos, stream games, all that kind of stuff. Doesn't matter what you do. If it's a digital product, one file will get you like 72 different pieces of content in 5 minutes. It's awesome. You should use them. Try them today and try them for free the first time. Go to dmntn.com today. And Ed's Fine Imports and his Gitch, our underwear, your underwear. We want to get you in a pair. Shop the selection. Promo code GITCH3 at checkout. We'll get you a wonderful pair of Gitch engineered for any level of performance as well as everyday life. They've got the boxer briefs, top premium prospect, soft stretch model. They've got them in every color from orange to black to purple to red. So go to edsfineimports.com. Order on the way out. You will get yourself a free pair of Gitch when you buy one. Buy three, you get one for free. Use promo code GITCH3 at checkout. Super easy. He's got consultations too, wedding packages, all kinds of brands, clothing for ladies, men. They got some ladies' clothes in there too, which is kind of nice. Boys' clothes, suits, blazers, accessories, footwear. Go to edsfineimports.com and check them out today. Have a great day, everybody. Really appreciate you being here. And we'll see you tomorrow on this very program. Alex will be back. Alex in Ukraine, of course. Alex Darebekov, who we're currently trying to raise some funds for. And if you haven't heard, we're selling a T-shirt that 100% of the funds go to Alex and his effort to help feed, clothe, give comfort to people in bomb shelters in Kyiv. He's doing that now. Here's the shirt that you can buy. And not only can you buy a shirt, you can also donate as you go to deanblundell.com. You can head to the store. It's right on the front page. You'll see a little drop-down menu. Go to the store and you can shop, get this Slava Ukraine shirt. It's got the Ukrainian Army insignia. We've also got Glory to Ukraine written on there in Ukrainian. So please go and donate if you can. $0 to $50. Anything helps. Alex is trying to buy tea, diapers, mattresses, blankets, clothing, water, food for hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians who are currently in Kyiv right now, and they're hiding underground and have been there for well over a month. So it's our way of trying to help Alex. He'll be on the program tomorrow, but if you could find it in your heart to go and try and donate or buy this shirt, have this nice shirt as a remembrance that there are people that are struggling and you're helping those people in their struggle as well. Go to deanblundell.com, the shop, which is on the main page, and you'll be able to help us by helping Alex. It'd be great. Look at this fucking shirt. It looks incredible. $40, 100% of the proceeds from that shirt go to Ukraine. So we appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you joining us. We'll see you tomorrow on this very program right around 3 o'clock. Bye.